Alrighty. Good morning. Hello, everybody. Okay, let me set us up because we got to get started because I am still trying to recover from my headaches. They're just really bad this week and I just can't shake them. So I'm going to try to just get through stream today and make it as good as possible and then go back to resting. I don't know what's going on. It's really, honestly, such a pain that they've decided to be so annoying. So the first thing I want to do, and we're starting early today in case you guys didn't notice, we were woken up earlier than my scheduled time because we got a delivery, which is good. We finally got the table set for the balcony. Huge news. It was very stressful picking out a table I liked and finding something that suited me and our needs. And it's amazing when you think about all of the things you want to use it for because there's so many variations of tables. And I had to think of a table that would be multi-use and appropriate. And oh my gosh. Anyways, it finally came today. And then to avoid the $125 take it into the apartment fee, my partner and I hauled it and it was very heavy. Couple staircases, it was a very intense morning and it's very hot in Croatia. So we were kind of dying a bit, but we got it, to the apartment and we saved on the delivery fee. There you go. The haul fee was crazy. Anyways, okay, so thank you. Chat says your bun is bunning today. Thank you. Okay, before I start on our TikToks of the day, I got a question from somebody in the audience that I just want to answer. And I think it's important, yesterday and this last week we've been talking about again, the work that I want to focus on, the work that if I have to be known for anything, I want it to be philosophy, but I really want it to be truly philosophy that's helpful, that isn't just like talking about abstract ideas or trying to prove who's smarter, but is actually going to challenge our ethics and our morals to get us to have a better relationship with ourselves and everything outside of ourselves in order to really say to ourselves, like, not only can we be better and live for better things and have a meaningful life, but that it really falls on us as individuals and as community members to create a really truthfully or truly a joyful symbiotic life. So yesterday and this week I've talked about how like I have philosophical existential dread autism. Like I even when I was a child, I was always questioning everybody and questioning everything, and it just it felt like everyone around me was just like, you should be grateful you exist. Like, you're so lucky. You're so spoiled. You grew up in America. Da, da, da. And it just like didn't seem like enough. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, but like, what's the point of all of this? And here I am, a closeted queer kid. And, and I did have parts of my childhood I loved. I would dream about getting older and having my own apartment, having my own friends. And I had a lot of really good childhood friends. Like, there's so many parts of my childhood that were fantastic and so many parts of my childhood that just confused me. Like, why would adults say one thing and do another? And then why was it not just my family, but it was like the world, it's kind of that meme on Instagram of like, growing up, you realize that like, oh, bad people do get away with it, but it's even more than bad people get away with it. Good people let it happen. And then the question is, are there no good people? Because it was weird to watch the adults in my life support Trump. It was weird to watch the adults in my life, not change for their gay kids. It was weird to watch the adults in my life say they wanted to protect children, but when children came out with stories, the predators were always defended and the children were always blamed. It's like, what's happening? What's going on? But then, of course, on the other side of it, because, we're having, there's like this middle thing that keeps happening where the boomers never listen to the children and always defended predators. The middle people, maybe they're like older millennials or something, we're like, okay, but like, yeah, it's bad, but like we can, it's whatever. And then the really like strict kind of younger people are like, no. And that's a very reductive generalization of the categories, but I'm moving more and more towards always paying attention to how young sort of progressive people respond to things, because I was trained from boomers and older millennials, and we were trained to downplay the pain that people cause. Now, of course, there needs to be some wisdom in how we handle recovering, because we do believe in restorative justice. So we do believe in some sense of like accountability should lead to something. But accountability doesn't mean getting your old life back either. So if you've done something bad, the question is how bad, and what does accountability look like, even if that means you never get your old life back. Okay. And that's why we're going to talk about, and this is why I continue to talk about men in movements and Hassan Piker and people who rise to power and have celebrity status, and seeing how they use it, they use those opportunities, because it matters. It matters that if they're the people who are supposed to be the good guys, then why are they doing bad guy things? And then the question is, what are bad guy things? Well, this is dependent on your goals. So these are subjective. So I talked about how, like, basically, if I have no hope, then what's the point? I'll kill myself. I was suicidal my whole life. And then I was like, okay. And then if I have to live in a bigoted world, also go fuck yourself. I'm going to kill myself, because like I'm a queer kid. I'm rebellious by nature. I'm not interested in the regular, quote, normal people life. Like, that's not interesting to me. So you're basically, the world is sending me the sign that I should kill myself. After therapy and doing philosophical work, I did come to the realization that I don't actually want to die, as much as I don't want to have to live in a world in which it feels like I might as well die. So then I made the decision, and this is where the question comes in from the chatter. Okay, they said, the not changing issue is something I keep dealing with, and it goes to the place of death. I feel like that there needs to be a goal that fulfills that for me. I'm an autistic schizo, so I'm assuming autistic schizophrenic. What do you value that helps in keeping you growing? So this is a very personal question, and I debated how to answer the question, because I want to send this person and every person in my audience the hope that it's possible to have, something worth living for. And even more than that, that it's so deeply personal. But when I was 30, I went on this great philosophical kind of journey that, well, didn't start or end when I was 30. It came to a head. Okay, I had been doing it my whole life. And then around between 30 and 32, I really had like some really big realizations that completely changed my life. Okay. And a big part of it was practicing a meditation practice of, sitting with myself and really saying like, okay, Brittany, like who are we? Who is our core self? What do we value? What do we really believe? And what do we know is true? And when it came to fulfillment, I had to recognize that I am the most fulfilled through a combination of knowing what's real, moving with curiosity, and accepting that I am nature experiencing itself. So this is Brittany's formula, give or take, right now at least. That's how I think of it. The formula of grounding myself in what's real. I'm an animal on a planet. The wisdom and curiosity to keep exploring what is true. It leaves me fulfilled in knowing that I am nature experiencing itself, that there is no ego. There is no Brittany needs to be remembered, or Brittany is right. There is no Brittany is special. There is no Brittany. There is just this biological creature experiencing itself, experiencing nature. And it kind of freed me from needing to be somebody. Even yesterday on stream, someone said, but don't you want your message to be seen or heard by the most people possible? No, because that's the ego. The ego is saying, I want to be the most famous. I want to be the most known, that I need to get out my message, that I'm the most important. I just don't think that's true. I think that's objectively not true. I don't even believe in objectivity, but I don't think that's true. I think that is absolutely a lie we've sold to ourselves, that patriarchy has sold to ourselves, that empires have sold to ourselves. And that's why we're all miserable, because we think if people don't remember us, if people don't know our names, if we're not important, then how do we know our value? But like, you're important because you exist. Like, you didn't need to prove it. You exist. And there's something so important about that. There's something so dignified about that. There's something so unique about that. There's something so wholesome about that, Yeah, Discord said the whole leaving legacy thing. Yeah, fuck that. Fuck your legacies. Fuck your juniors. Fuck your seniors. Like, fuck this idea of needing to have sons to carry on your name. Like, all of that is ego, bro. Like, I'm not interested in any of that. Do I think I'm a vessel to carry on philosophical ideas? Yes. But that's all I am, is a vessel, which might sound a little religious, you know? But the truth is like, I think that's why religion is so appealing to our brains. And I think that's why we like the humility that religion seems to encourage, even though it doesn't end up that way. Like most, like the patriarchal Abrahamic religions often talk about humility, right? They often talk about how hard it is for a rich man, or the false prophets, or these men who abuse the church and temple. And it's funny to me how obvious it is that like the Trumps as an example are the villains in the story, right? Here's Ivanka Trump buying up marshlands, and here's Trump doing his dictatorship and like fascism, and like it's so fucking obvious. But it's interesting when good people mimic it and people don't see it. And then the question is, how do you know? Well, the dilemma, first of all, is that people aren't authentically good faith. They are miserable, sad people. And I'm going to show you that today. The amount of miserable people in my chat doubting what I'm saying because they're either trolls, bots, or they're literally the most pathetic human beings on the planet because they are so deeply arrogant, so deeply egotistical. God forbid they read an article. Like, God forbid they try. Now, that's not my ego speaking. That's my sense of justice speaking. When Jesus went into the temples and was so angry that the Pharisees were using it for gambling, he literally tossed the table upside down. And how dare you use the Lord of the house or the house of the Lord for this? That's how I feel. How dare you come into a chat? How dare you come into communities? How dare you get on the internet and write a comment that is so fucking bad faith when we are seriously facing fascism, and you have the audacity to tell me I'm contributing to more harm when you won't even read a fucking a little article, a little 2-page article with that literally is making my point for me. We're going to talk about how suits have a relationship to white supremacy and how Hassan Piker is more than aware that it's connected to white supremacy. He knows this. He's admitted in interviews. He understands, or at least he should understand. And the question is, how do you wear a suit that is a signal white supremacy? But instead, you know, all these Britney bros in my chat being like, okay, Britney, like suits and white supremacy. And I'm like, bro, it's so offensive to the fact that we truly are, and we have so many opportunities to do so much good for the world, but we can't even imagine. You know what I mean? We can't even imagine that how much evil we are personally participating in, right? And then you have the audacity, and this is why I say marginalized people are the most ignored, even though they know so much. They're just under white supremacy ignored, and that's why I say like Hassan Piker better be careful. You better be careful about the way he either does or does not support truly marginalized voices. And that means people who don't always sell well on camera. Because I think the dilemma here is right now we're playing a game to sell well on camera, to be the most famous possible. That's what he said, right? I want to be seen by the most people. Ego. Already the wrong answer. Already the wrong answer. Because what are you selling me? Why are you selling me this? Now, to get back to this chatter who said, you know, how do you find meaning in life? It really helps me to understand that I'm really here for a short time and then I'm going to die. That the purpose of my life is to study, is to share, is to build, and then is to die. The purpose of Brittany's subjective existence is fulfilled by learning, filled by the relationships I have in my life. It's fulfilled by recognizing that like I'm just here in a blip of history, that I didn't choose to be here, but I'm going to make my most out of it. That no one is allowed to tell me what to do with my life. You cannot tell me what to do with my life. You can help me have a better life. You can guide me. You can answer my questions if I ask for advice. But the truth is like, not only do I recommend liberating your spirit, but I recommend recognizing that you really are just like a fish in the ocean, and the waves are going to come. There's going to be ships. There's going to be problems. But like you are exactly where you're supposed to be. For good or worse, like you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And because of that, it kind of makes sense. Like your life will make sense. And then when you're ready, you will change your life because you'll be ready to be the person you're going to be in this next era of your life. So to this person in my comment section who's struggling right now, I don't blame you. Life is hard. And more than that, life is hard and you have to figure out what you're doing on the planet. It's a lot. But it is what it means to be a person. It is what it means to fight for meaning. This is why it's so hard. This is why we're in a meaning crisis. It's really, really hard to know what is the meaning of our life. It really, really is.
Hey everyone.
Let's watch Bisan, who obviously has such a strong sense of purpose, who obviously in many ways, I'm sure would want to do a lot of other things with her life, but has done so much with her life. You know, in the moment she's in, she's so important, you know, on this wonderful Juneteenth. We're going to get into Juneteenth as well. Love Juneteenth. Love that we're celebrating it. Love that we're going to learn the history. I love a reminder of how important it is to recognize the way things have gone in this country. So, you know, happy Juneteenth, everybody. And I want you to recognize that, like, from Bisan to you to anybody else, we're all playing a role. And the only thing you have to ask yourself is this a role I should be playing? Am I joyful? Or do I need to change the role that I'm playing? You should know who you are in the story. To the best of your ability, figure that out. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be on social media. You don't have to be an activist. You have to live a life worth living. And that alone is a form of activism. Okay, let's check in with Bisan.
This is Bisan from Gaza, and I am still alive. The World Cup is the biggest dream for millions of footballers around the world. Here in Gaza, it's the dream of a lot of Palestinians, but unfortunately,
the Palestinian footballers are struggling to survive the genocide.
Most of the stadiums are destroyed. As we see around, I'm now in Palestine Stadium, and it's not only destroyed, but turned into a displacement camp. The leagues are stopped, and a lot of Palestinian players are killed.
Despite this, the Palestinians refuse to give up the game they love. Today, we're going to be following two young footballers from Gaza while they are trying to live their dream despite the genocide.
It says we just finished school. I can't quite see because of the, because of the script right here. So it says we just finished school, now we're off to play football. Are there many football fields left? There aren't really fields left. The field we use is between the rubble and destroyed homes. I can't see what that says. I think something about training. The occupation is depriving people of and Gazans of everything. Sports, education, everything.
However, the Palestinians are trying to play football and to find glimpses of hope in the middle of the rules and the rubble. Muhammad Iyad Azzam, he is the only survivor among his family that was bombed, and now he is playing football in the middle of the rubble to fulfill his parents' dream. Despite everything, and despite anything around.
My family is here. I was born here, and I grew up here. I used to play for something service club. Before the war, I used to come to the field and find my brother. Why can't I see this? I don't understand. Encouraging me. I wonder if I'm doing something tech wrong. I don't know. My family's always encouraged me. They wanted me to become a football player. It says, so how did you end up in this place? It says, once my house was bombed, killing my father, mother, and 2 older siblings, which is... We were asleep around 7 or 7:30 in the morning. Let me see. I can't. It's not giving me an option for full screen. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Forgive me. Let me just...
Hey everyone.
No, it lists the same thing. I don't know why. I don't know why the subtitles are covered. Okay, hold on.
علينا بدون سابق انذار. حركت
Let me rewind it.
أمي واخوتي الاثنين الكبار. كنا نايمين احنا الساعة تقريبا 7 أو 7:30 الصبح. ما
Suddenly, the 5-story building collapsed on us without any warning.
لقينا إلا الدار بتنزل 5 طوابق علينا بدون سابق انذار. حركت 10 دقائق
I remained under the rubble for 10 minutes.
ضلتني تحت الأنقاض. واجت ست
My grandma and the neighbors came and pulled me.
طلعوني واجوا الجيران وعملوا لي تنفس صناعي
They
ويعني
performed CPR on me and I survived by a miracle.
عشت بعجوبة.
For many young players in Gaza, the path to professional football is nearly impossible.
طبعا فيش ملاعب.
There are no fields left.
لو بتلاقي لك ملعب
And
يعني
if you find one, it's surrounded by rubble.
بين الركام وبين هذا يعني بتلعب وإحباط
You play feeling depressed.
نفسي يعني جاي على الملعب بتمشي
You walk through the rubble, intense to make it to the field.
بين خيام بين ركام وانت ماشي
There's sewage everywhere. The situation is tragic.
مجاري يعني مأساة.
بس بنفس الوقت هذا الاشي
At the same time, is there an element of defiance?
تحدي
في تحدي وفي إصرار إنها ترجع
There's a sense of defiance and also determination to bring back football.
يعني كرة القدم وترجع الحيوية وترجع الرياضة في غزة.
Sports in Gaza.
أنا يعني
I started playing football again to release my negative energy.
رجعت حاليا ألعب كورة عشان أطلع طاقتي السلبية وهذا يعني كان حلم
And because it was the dream of my father, mother, and siblings.
أبوي وأمي وأخواتي يعني وبدنا نحققه إن شاء الله.
God willing, I'm going to achieve it. The Israeli military has killed over 400 Palestinian football players in Gaza since October 2023. Nassim's father was one of them.
أنا نسيم العائلة.
My name is Nassim. Nassimi or Nassim? I think it's Nassimi. I'm the son of martyr Solomon Obaid,
العبيد ابن
عبيد.
الشهيد سليمان العبيد. أنا عمري 18.
and he's 18 years old. Oh, his father's one of the greatest football players. Solomon was one of the Gaza's biggest football stars. Oh, wow. Fans called him the gazelle of the pitch.
والله
At the beginning of the war, we were displaced.
نزحنا على الدير الفترة الأولى و
We stayed there for about a
قعدنا
month.
يعني شهر في الدير. أجانا خبر إنه
Then we learned that our home had been bulldozed.
الدار اتجرف. يعني أبوي ساعتها زعل
My father was devastated but said there was nothing we could do.
وقال ما فيش شيء أبكي عليها الجديدة. وآخر فترة لما
Later, when we returned to Gaza City,
روحنا على غزة صاروا يروحوا على
we started going to the U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distribution sites.
المساعدات. صاروا يروحوا على المساعدات الأمريكية. يجيب له لقمة عيش. إخواتي
He went there to bring home food for my younger siblings.
الصغار.
After months of aid restrictions, Israel reduced food distribution in Gaza to a handful of GHF sites. More than 2,000 Palestinians were killed seeking and near the sites.
خلص معي
He was exhausted from all these trips he was doing.
وتعب من مشغول بضل يروح. راح الصبح
He left early that morning.
يعني آخر كلمة اللي إياها ربنا يسهل.
And the last words he told me were, "May God make it easy."
وطلع.
And he
على
left.
الساعة 8 أجانا خبر إنه
At 8 a.m., we had heard that he had been injured
مصاب. مش قادر يحكي.
and he was unable to speak.
مرش ال5 ثواني جلست لما
A few seconds later, we learned Solomon had been killed.
استشهد. حس إني
I felt like I'm in a dream and I can't wake up from.
لسه في حلم أنا. مش قادر أصحى منه.
Even now,
مش مستوعب إن سليمان
I can't believe Solomon is gone.
راح. يعني راح
Then he disappeared on the field. He could no longer play.
عن الملاعب بطل يلعب في الملاعب الرجال. بطلت الجميع تهدف في اسمه.
The crowds aren't chanting his name anymore.
والله حياتنا صارت
Life became harder for us.
النازل صارت حياتنا من بعد استشهاد سليمان.
After he was killed.
طموحي إني أطلع زي أبوي.
My dream is to become like my father,
أطلع لاعب محترف.
to become
يعني
a professional
أطلع
football player. I want to prove myself on the pitch, make him proud, and keep his name alive.
حالي في الملعب وارفع راسه وخلي اسمه في الملاعب واحط حالي مطرح.
I want to put myself in his place and remember that he lives through his children.
يقول والله اللي خلف لسه ما ماتش. أبوي لما كان يلعب كورة
When my father played football, he always took me with him.
كان ياخذني معاه على الملعب قبل ما نضرب ساعة.
An hour before kickoff, he would bring me to the stadium
كان يقول لي تعال اقعد معي جوا في الملعب كنت اقول له لا بدي اقعد بين
and he'd tell me, go sit with the fans and cheer.
الجماهير واشجع يعني من اول ما يحط جون
Whenever he'd score a goal, the crowd would start chanting his name.
كل الجماهير يهدف في اسمه. يعني المذيع
The announcer would say,
كان يحكي عن ابوي سليمان العبيد كان ممتاز في الملعب
he was outstanding on the pitch.
كان كويس كان يؤدي اداء في المباراة.
Man, this footage is heartbreaking. Just watching, like, this was their life before, and Israel just said, I'm going to take it away, and didn't feel an ounce of empathy or care. He goes on to say he always performed well
كان يسجل اهداف
and scored
يعني
goals.
كان المذيع يقول
Look at this. The commentator used to call him
عنه الغزال الاسمر في
the
الملعب.
gazelle of the
يعني
pitch.
كان محترف
He was a true professional.
في المباريات.
Before the genocide, Gaza had a thriving football culture with a 12-team league and a national team of players.
ملعب اليرموك يوم
At Yarmouk Stadium, when El Shati Club won the championship,
يعني يوم ما فاز الشاطئ يوم صعد يعني كرموا
they had handed out medals and he gave one to me.
ميدالية واعطاني واحدة قال لي هذه خليها ذكرى
He told me, keep this as a memory.
عندك وهي حتى الآن محتفظ فيها يعني.
And I still have it till today. Whenever I play
كل
football,
الناس يعني كل ما اروح العب كورة اكون في الشارع اكون غير
or even when I'm walking down the
يعني
street
مشوار كل الناس يقولوا
and people tell me, may God have mercy on your father.
لا الله يرحم ابوك كان زلمة طيب.
Your father was a good man. Despite the circumstances, young players like Nassimi still find a way to play football.
حاليا بلعب على الباب انا.
Hold on, I missed that. I'm so sorry.
حاليا بلعب
Right now, I just play informally.
على الباب انا. فيش
There are no clubs I can register with.
فيش نواد اسجل فيها. يعني انا المفروض
Someone like me should be playing for a football club.
اللي زي بلعب في نادي. يعني فيش
There is no nutrition.
غذاء.
I should have good nutrition. I should be playing for the club.
المفروض اللي زي
For a
انا
club.
اكون متغذى وبلعب في نادي
And developing on the pitch.
وكنت ثابت في الملعب. المفروض ولا
They tell me I should follow in his footsteps.
انت المفروض تكون مطرح ابوك في الملعب. يعني
And I tell them, God willing, I'll be able to follow in his footsteps and make him proud.
كنت يعني اقول لهم ان شاء الله باذن الله ان شاء الله اكون مكان وان شاء الله هرفع راسه وان شاء الله اخلي اسمه في الملاعب.
That's the end. This is AJ Plus. I'll link the TikTok. Red Song with the super chat. Thank you so much. Says, thank you for always grounding us in humanity. For me, and this is just true for how I exist, and I know not everybody is like this, and I'm not saying it. It's just true that I do have a universal love for every living creature on the planet. The love is on a spectrum, and it starts with the fact that I do think every living creature is unique and important. I understand we all live and die. I understand we don't know when we're going to die. I understand life is hard. I understand. I think it helps ground me and recognizing like billions of lives have died, billions of lives will live, billions of lives will die, billions of lives will live, and we go in cycles of existing. I think my hope is that in my lifetime, we continue to mitigate harm and bring down suffering, unwise suffering, and we work together as communities, and it starts at home. Like at the end of the day, I know you feel powerless, but I promise you, beating your girlfriend is not going to help liberate you. Because this narrative, especially from men, I hear from men, and they go, the system's broken. I'm going to go home and beat my girlfriend. And I'm like, well, maybe don't do that. Maybe go to therapy. Like maybe work on yourself. Maybe go to prison. Maybe do a lot of things. I don't even believe in prison, but you know. I think there's this idea from men, especially from the patriarchy, that tells men they are entitled to destroying things because the world isn't going the way they want, but they don't even do it in the name of liberation. They don't feed their communities. They don't house their communities. They just destroy things. And now those same men are running governments that arrest Palestinian protesters because they want to stand up against a genocide. Okay? Here's news out of Britain.
I'm here outside Woolwich Crown Court, where a British judge has just convicted Palestine activists as terrorists. Behind me, you can see the police van where the defendants are being held, and protesters blocking the path. Police are hauling them away. Hauling away people and arresting them. Over about 100 people have been arrested so far under the Terrorism Act for holding signs in support of the proscribed organisation Palestine Action.
It says in the description that the protesters, so the judge sentenced 4 Palestine Action protesters as terrorists on Friday, holding them in custodial sentences ranging from 4 to 8 years. Now, I don't know if Palestine Action is more than just supporting Palestine, but 4 to 8 years for protesting a genocide is insane. And that is deliberate and that is on purpose. And that's what I want you to pay attention to. This is the next round of it. The next round of it will be, right, arresting protesters, making you afraid, making you really making an example. That's what Trump did with a lot of those students who were protesting on the side of Palestine for Palestine. This is the point, right? And so I want you to remember that this is the dominance and control thing we've been talking about, and it's devastating, and it's very real, and it's happening. And we have to pay attention to it. And so, you know, as we move into today's stream, it really is that deep. When we talk about suits signaling white supremacy or the way you do your undercut, dominance and hierarchy. Thank you. Dominance and hierarchy. The way that your undercut can symbolize white supremacy. It's not that you shouldn't wear a suit or you shouldn't have an undercut. And the question is, what kind do you have? And should you change it because times are changing? Because everything we do signals. That's why people aggressively, when they go back to fighting white supremacy, they go back to their cultural roots. It's why Black people will change their hair, or, you know, the military will attack Black people for their hair because they're trying to make them conform to white supremacy. And so when Black people wear locks, it can be a form of protest and a form of feeling spiritually connected to their ancestors. But it is ultimately to white supremacy an act of rebellion, which is, crazy, but here we are. So I want to start off with a few TikToks just telling us about Juneteenth. And then I just want to kind of give a little shout out to Juneteenth, mixed in with a little bit of Pride history, and then just a reminder of why this is so important. Okay, so here's a little, Juneteenth summarization.
What is Juneteenth? Maybe you learned it's about how Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, or about how enslavers in the Deep South hid the news of the Emancipation Proclamation for 2.5 years. Well, that's not the full story, and not all stories are accurate, so let's get smarter in seconds. First of all, Abraham Lincoln wrote the Emancipation Proclamation in 1862, but it wasn't out of the goodness of his heart. That same year, he wrote to journalist Horace Greeley saying, "If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it." The Emancipation Proclamation was a wartime military strategy, and it didn't even free all enslaved people in the United States. It only applied to the Confederacy, the states that had seceded and started the Civil War, and it didn't free enslaved people in the Union. What's missed in all of this is that enslaved African Americans were already freeing themselves or self-emancipating to Canada, Mexico, and the Caribbean. And some enslaved Africans commandeered ships as they were being trafficked across the Atlantic. There is a rich history of our ancestors' fight for freedom, and that often gets whitewashed and erased in discussions around enslavement and Juneteenth. So chattel slavery, or the enslaving, buying, selling, trading, inheriting, and ownership of enslaved African people as property, built the U.S. economy over a period of 400 years to the tune of $100 $100 trillion. Here is what Juneteenth is actually about. Juneteenth commemorates June 19th, 1865, when U.S. soldiers reoccupied Galveston, Texas, where at least 250,000 people were still enslaved. Slavers in Texas hid the news of the war's end to extract one final harvest from the people they enslaved. And let's be real, if they could have kept enslaving people forever, they would have, and some people tried. With the military present, the Emancipation Proclamation could finally be enforced. Juneteenth isn't the day that slavery ended, it was the day that they could no longer hide that it had. Juneteenth has been celebrated by African Americans in Texas for decades, long before it became a federal holiday. Later that year, in December 1865, the 13th Amendment officially abolished slavery, but you should know it contains a loophole that allows for slavery as a punishment for crime. And you should know that loophole sets the legal foundation for mass incarceration, convict leasing, and prison labor today, all of which disproportionately impact African Americans. And finally, how did Juneteenth become a federal holiday? Well, we have Opal Lee to thank for that. She would walk 2.5 miles every year to symbolize the 2.5 years between the Emancipation Proclamation and Galveston. Her advocacy, combined with the long-standing celebrations by African Americans, are the reasons that Joe Biden signed it into law in 2021. And well, how do you celebrate Juneteenth? Well, if your ancestors did not suffer chattel enslavement, don't treat Juneteenth as a day off. Share educational resources like this, spend time learning about the real history, support Black-owned businesses and organizations, support bail funds, and have difficult conversations about privilege and power. Thanks for getting smarter in seconds, and make sure to follow for more.
Okay, love it. I love a little straight to the point education. Okay, so shared that TikTok.
One day.
Now, I thought this was interesting. This was the TED Talks, had a little animation that I thought would be fun to watch. A little educational.
One day, while hiding in the kitchen, Charlotte...
Wait, hold on. It says, TED Talks, and it does have an animator, so it's not AI. At the end of the Civil War, though slavery was technically illegal in all states, it still persisted in the bastions of the Confederacy. This was a case when Union General Gordon Granger marched his troops into Galveston, Texas on June 19th and announced that all enslaved people there were officially free. Okay, here we go.
Brooks overheard a life-changing... One day, while hiding in the kitchen, Charlotte Brooks overheard a life-changing secret. At the age of 17, she'd been separated from her family and taken to William Nealon's Texas plantation. There, she was made to do housework at the violent whims of her enslavers. On that fateful day, she learned that slavery had recently been abolished, but Nealon conspired to keep this a secret from those he enslaved. Hearing this, Brooks stepped out of her hiding spot, proclaimed her freedom, spread the news throughout the plantation, and ran. That night, she returned for her daughter, Tempe, and before Nealon's spiteful bullets could find them, they were gone for good. For more than 2 centuries, slavery defined what would become the United States, from its past as the 13 British colonies to its growth as an independent country. Slavery fueled its cotton industry and made it a leading economic power. 10 of the first 12 presidents enslaved people. And when U.S. chattel slavery finally ended, it was a long and uneven process. Enslaved people resisted from the beginning by escaping, breaking tools, staging rebellions, and more. During the American Revolution, Vermont and Massachusetts abolished slavery, while several states took steps towards gradual abolition. In 1808, federal law banned the import of enslaved African people, but it allowed the slave trade to continue domestically. Approximately 4 million people were enslaved in the U.S. when Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860. Lincoln opposed slavery, and though he had no plans to outlaw it, his election caused panic in southern states, which began withdrawing from the Union. They vowed to uphold slavery and formed the Confederacy.
Pause. Already interesting the way they're telling the story about Abraham Lincoln and then the TikTok before. History is funny.
Triggering the start of the American Civil War. A year into the conflict, Lincoln abolished slavery in Washington, D.C., legally freeing more than 3,000 people. And 5 months later, he announced the Emancipation Proclamation. It promised freedom to the 3.5 million people enslaved in Confederate states. But it would only be fulfilled if the rebelling states didn't rejoin the Union by January 1st, 1863. And it bore no mention of the roughly 500,000 people in bondage in the border states of Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, and Missouri that hadn't seceded. When the Confederacy refused to surrender, Union soldiers began announcing emancipation. but many southern areas remained under Confederate control, making it impossible to actually implement abolition throughout the South. The war raged on for 2 more years, and on January 31st, 1865, Congress passed the 13th Amendment. It promised to end slavery throughout the U.S., except as punishment for a crime. But to go into effect, 27 states would have to ratify it first. Meanwhile, the Civil War virtually ended with the surrender of Confederate General Robert E. Lee on April 9, 1865. But although slavery was technically illegal in all southern states, it still persisted in the last bastions of the Confederacy. There, enslavers like Neelan continued to evade abolition until forced. This was also the case when Union General Gordon Granger marched his troops into Galveston, Texas on June 19th and announced that all enslaved people there were officially free and had been for more than 2 years. Still, at this point, people remained legally enslaved in the border states. It wasn't until more than 5 months later, on December 6, 1865, that the 13th Amendment was finally ratified. This formally ended chattel slavery in the U.S. Because official emancipation was a staggered process, people in different places commemorated it on different dates. Those in Galveston, Texas, began celebrating Juneteenth, a combination of June and 19th, on the very first anniversary of General Granger's announcement. Over time, smaller Juneteenth gatherings gave way to large parades, and the tradition eventually became the most widespread of emancipation celebrations. But while chattel slavery had officially ended, racial inequality, oppression, and terror had not. Celebrating emancipation was itself an act of continued resistance, and it wasn't until 2021 that Juneteenth became a federal holiday. Today, Juneteenth holds profound significance as a celebration of the demise of slavery, the righteous pursuit of true freedom for all, and a continued pledge to remember the past and dream the future.
Okay, pretty good. I like the animation. That part about Lincoln was suspicious, but okay, fine. I appreciate the rundown of the history. I do think, and this is what's important here, is the reason I'm so anti-prison systems is exactly for this reason. It's because when you learn about that it's just a modern day enslavement, you really have to recontextualize this idea of punishment. And that's why I'm anti-punishment, because punishment connects to the feeling of justice when watching other people suffer. And that all connects to everything else. If people need to be kept away from the general public, this really horrible case just happened. This really horrible child case just happened. I learned about it yesterday. And these men got life in prison. And I think that's correct for what they did to that baby. Really horrible story. And I think that's correct. Like, I don't think those kinds of people who do those kinds of things to babies, literal babies, I don't think you are safe for the public. And I don't think you should be allowed to run the risk of doing it again. And so those people do have to be locked away. I don't want to have to do that to you. But it is for the safety of other people. And I won't even say you did it to yourself, because at the end of the day, I think we're animals on a planet. And so I will say, like, it doesn't matter, but it happened. So I do think those people need to be put away. I think the instinct and intuition and the reflective response will, of course, be that these people should suffer and die and, oh, they won't have a fun time in prison. But once again, all you're doing is celebrating rape or abuse or something, because somebody still has to hurt them or commit. Like, if they're assaulted in prison, all you're doing is cheering on rape. So you agree that some people deserve to be raped. It doesn't make sense, but I get it. Like, I grew up in a very conservative bubble where we did think those things were good. We didn't think about it like that, but we thought about it as like, oh, you get yours, like almost like a fuck around and find out, if you will, but like a different, like a, you get what's coming to you kind of thing. The dilemma with that, of course, then, is that you're celebrating rape. And like, it's a weird realization to be like, oh, hold on, never mind. No. And then that forces me to say, actually, I don't want you punished. Because if I want you punished, then I want you, that I am now saying, okay, so that's why it's hard. It's hard to be a good person because you are an animal. So your instinct is to take revenge. Like, that's not a bad instinct. You're protecting the population. And at the same time, you know, it's not good. So, to know that there are innocent people in prison today, I don't know about you, but that terrifies me. Do you know what I mean? Like, that genuinely does not terrify people. Like, imagine if that was you. Imagine if you knew you were fucking innocent. Imagine if you knew you were really fucking innocent and you spent 20 years in prison. That should make every one of us so frustrated for people who are imprisoned falsely. You know what I mean? It's so frustrating. Discord is sharing, says designed in 1997 by activist Ben Haith and refined in 2000 with illustrator Lisa Gian Graf. The Juneteenth flag is based on the American flag, sharing its exact red, white, and blue colors. The colors red, white, and blue symbolize the formerly enslaved people and their descendants, and descendants are and always have been Americans. The star, the large white, represents Texas, the Lone Star State, and the freedom of African Americans across all 50 states. The bursting outline around the star is inspired by the astronomical nova, symboling a new beginning. Oh, that's cute. And the arc, the curve stretching across the flag, symbolizes a new horizon of opportunities and promise for Black Americans. Okay, cool. There you go. Okay, one more video about, or maybe one more video? No, a couple more videos.
I think enough people know who Opal Lee is. Most people know Juneteenth. They know it's a holiday now. They know there's a cookout somewhere. They know they don't have to go to work. But the woman called the grandmother of Juneteenth, a lot of people couldn't even tell you her story. In 1939, Opal Lee was 12 years old. Her family had just bought a home in Fort Worth, Texas. 4 days later, on Juneteenth, a white mob showed up. About 500 people. The police were called, but the mob stayed. Opal's family got out. But the mob broke in and destroyed everything they owned. And I keep coming back to that date, Juneteenth, a date that's supposed to commemorate freedom. A 12-year-old Black girl watching a crowd decide that her family didn't belong. On that day of all days, and Opal Lee remembered it for the rest of her life. Now, if you know anything about Black families, you know we don't just carry photographs and heirlooms. We carry stories. The stories our grandparents told, the stories our parents told. The stories we refuse to let disappear. And Opal carried that one with her for decades. Most people know Juneteenth as June 19th, 1865, the day Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, and informed enslaved people that they were free. But here's the part that gets missed. Too often, really. Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation 2.5 years earlier. The enslaved people of Texas were legally free. The problem with that is that freedom on paper and freedom in real life aren't always the same thing. It took the Union troops arriving in Galveston to enforce it. That's what Juneteenth commemorates. Not just freedom, the delay, the distance between what the government says and what people actually experience. And if you're Black in America, that theme just keeps showing up, doesn't it? Then Opal Lee got older, much older, 89 years old.
Wow.
An age where people have earned the right to sit down if they want to. You know? But Opal decided to start walking. She wanted Juneteenth recognized as a federal holiday. Originally, she wanted to walk from Fort Worth to Washington, D.C., but her family convinced her not to do the whole trip. So she started walking 2.5 miles in cities across the country instead. But that number wasn't random, y'all. It represented the 2.5 years between the Emancipation Proclamation and Juneteenth. City after city, year after year. She collected more than 1.6 million signatures. And while a lot of people were just discovering Juneteenth, Opal Lee was making sure that nobody could forget it anymore. Then in June of 2021, she stood beside President Biden.
And I just want you to remember, like, this is why things matter. Like, yes, we're here for a short time. Yes, we're all going to die. And you really can do things. You can change how things work. And yes, it takes a collective effort. And yes, we never do things alone, but you can do these things. Like, you can do this. You can be her. You can be Opal. You know, that's the question is, you know, you don't have to be great though. Opal wasn't trying to be great. I don't think she did this for her own ego. I think she did this for the future. I'd like to think that the way I'm hearing her story is that she did it for her family. She did it for history. It wasn't about her, but we should still know her name. And we're allowed to know her name without it being about her ego. I think men and patriarchy, they really destroy in the name of their ego. They run into towns, they rename them, they destroy, they plant their flag. You know what I mean? They put these statues up of themselves. And I'm saying we should know her name, and you can do this too. And this matters, and it's important.
As he signed Juneteenth into law as a federal holiday, she was 94 years old. The same woman whose home had been destroyed by a racist mob on Juneteenth. The same woman who spent years walking so people would remember the significance of that day. The same little girl from Fort Worth, standing in the White House watching Juneteenth finally receive federal recognition. History usually doesn't give people moments like that, but Miss Lee got one. So that's why we have to keep coming back to her story, because when people think about Juneteenth, they usually talk about the holiday itself, right? But I keep thinking about the people that carried that history long enough for us to inherit it.
Exactly.
People who refused to let that story disappear. People who kept telling it even when nobody was listening. People who understood that if you don't protect a story, eventually somebody else is going to rewrite it. Opal Lee is 99 years old. Opal Lee is 99 years old. In October, she will be 100. She is still here. Still reminding people what Juneteenth actually commemorates. And if anybody's earned the title of Grandmother of Juneteenth, it's probably the woman who spent the majority of her life making sure that the rest of us remembered. Say her name, Opal Lee.
Love that. Okay, I'm going to share the TikTok, and then let's look at the Juneteenth flag since we talked about it and chat wants to see it. Okay, so here's the TikTok. I've got like so many girls. I have so many tabs open. I have 2 monitors full of tabs. So I'm trying to be careful. I don't delete anything right now. Wait. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this is the flag. Yes, is this look right? Cute. So there's the Lone Star. Here's the sign of the new beginnings. And then the red, white, and blue is that Americans before, Americans now. Cute. Love a flag design. Honestly, do not take for granted flag designs. You know what I'm saying? Like, we forget like flag designs are really important, just to have something, a piece of cloth that represents a pattern that represents, it's so important. Don't underestimate the power of a flag. I mean, that's why I put the flag on my channel. Because don't underestimate the power of a flag, Okay, this story is a doozy, okay? On June 19th, 1865, the enslaved people in Texas would learn of their freedom, making what we celebrate as Juneteenth. Decades later, the effects of that time are still felt today. For a Houston great-grandfather, he's hoping to get what he's saying is a missing part of his identity, his birth certificate.
I was born on Ellaby Plantation, Sweet Fork, Louisiana.
August 14th.
Oh, pause. Can I just say, this is why it's disgusting when people get married on a plantation. When white people get married on a plantation, what is wrong with you? This is why people think it's gross. Because, like, what are you doing? Why are you celebrating your white wedding on a plantation next to homes where enslaved people were kept? Like, what are you doing?
1931.
Let me rewind that. Sorry.
I was born on Ellaby Plantation, Sweet Fork, Louisiana.
August 14th, 1931 is the birth date for James Dorsey.
As far as you could go on the plantation, that's where I was living at.
Life for blacks, Dorsey says, meant living on the plantation even after the Emancipation Proclamation was issued in 1863. While slavery was outlawed, manual labor and its grueling conditions were the only option.
I think I was about 8 years old.
Even as a child.
My grandfather used to take me out in the field with them. And they had me on one side of the road and picking, couldn't pick too much because I was so little. And give it to them, they put it in their sack.
Dorsey says he would soon learn as an adult that he faced another challenge, proving who he was. Because of routine practices on plantations, he was born to a midwife. Also common, a record of his birth, he says, was never recorded.
I went to the courthouse. I went to the school board. While I was going, the school board, they were over everything. All the schools and plantation, what the school was on, they was over everything.
Dorsey.
Okay, wait, pause. This is why voting registration or voting laws for ID is so tricky, because if you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people kept record of births in Bibles or notebooks or letters, or, you know what I mean? Like, the idea of even coming from different countries around the world, like, not everybody has the same system. And I'll just tell you, a lot of immigrants that come to the US, they definitely put down the wrong birthdays because, like, their parents barely know when they were born. Some people are like, I don't know, you were born sometime here. Like, it's really not the way you think it is everywhere. So everyone's different. But the point is like, you did come into the world, you do exist, and this man exists, and he is going to, paperwork is such a barrier to entry in the world. Look at the way it's being used with ICE immigration right now, or ICE raids, sorry. And that's why it's always the trick of white supremacy to say, I'm just trying to follow the rules. I just want people to follow the rules, you know?
Says he would move to Houston in 1956. Over the years, he says, he's been able to get a social security card and driver's license, but not a birth certificate. Now, at 94 years old, he has one wish.
Oh, Lord, I don't know. I allowed to go crazy. That sure would be something, because I missed out on so much.
ABC 13 reached out to the Louisiana Department of Health. A spokesperson directed us to the state's Vital Records Department to submit an application and follow the process.
What was your mom and dad name?
At Dorsey's home, and with the help of his daughter.
I will probably put the where it's a Parish Ellerby plantation.
Line by line, the application was filled out.
I pray that they get his birth certificate for him, because he really need it. And he been wanting to get it, but he didn't know how. And so that's when we turned to Channel 13.
What the birth certificate mean for me is, boy, I just couldn't, I couldn't even pronounce what it would mean now.
This piece of paper representing history and a dream they hope becomes a reality.
Oh, cool, huh?
I was born on.
Devastating, but so cool. Sorry, cool meaning like the history and his story and his family, but like devastating that so many people are brought into existence and aren't given the dignity of like having this thing that we all take for granted. You know, this thing that we just never think is so important. But it would be so nice if someone could get him that birth certificate. You know, 94. Hopefully he's around for another until he's 100, right? But I hope they get it to him. That would be nice. So I just wanted to bring attention to this. You could see they said they turned to Channel 13 News. So this is ABC 13 Houston. And maybe if enough people get their story out, it just got posted a day ago, maybe he'll get his birth certificate, you know? That would be nice. I'm glad he has a social security card, and I'm glad he has a driver's license. Now, you know that I think everything comes back to the kids, and I just think kids humble us. They remind us of what we do it for. They just remind us of how like funny they are. And so I saw this video yesterday and I could not stop laughing. It was so cute. And then the comment section was like, you don't know how funny this is at 3 a.m. Anyways, kids are so cute. It says he wanted to try wasabi so bad.
Wasabi good. I don't even taste my water. Can somebody? It's good. I don't need my water no more. Okay, everybody like and subscribe. I don't need my water no more. Daddy, can you close it for me?
Here, I close it.
Daddy, stop. You're gonna let me scream. Somebody call the ambulance. Somebody call the ambulance.
It's just the way that he was like, I don't need my I don't need my water. Kids are so funny, bro. Kids are so funny. Honestly, though, this is really why we do everything.
So what is
so funny? Okay. Shout out to being a parent. Shout out to your kids. They're all so great. They're great, and they really deserve the world. Oh man. Okay, this is a TV show, and then we're gonna bring it back to real life.
exactly is a ball?
Balls are a gathering of
So what exactly is a ball?
balls are a gathering of people who are not welcome together anywhere else. A celebration of a life that the rest of the world does not be worthy of celebration. There can people dress up as a walk. There's voting, trophies. It's the ballroom world.
Okay, now, Paris is Burning is a documentary about trans women, ball, voguing, living on the streets, sex work, the trials and tribulations of being kicked out of your family home. And it talks about a lot of this, like interviewing some of these girls, these women, these queer people way back in the day. And it really is just a testament to how much we still have to work and how much it's worth it. But voguing, ballroom culture, like it is, it really comes from the queer Black community. And so it's just a reminder of all of us to remember like the roots of our queerness and to remember that like we've always existed, we've always been here. And this is why I showed you guys this the other day, but I'm going to bring it back. NYC City Hall hosts Pride Ball. This is why stuff like this is important. Yes, there is a bullshit way that Pride, that is a protest, can sometimes engage with building community with like banks, and that feels like pink capitalism, which is bullshit. Or rainbow capitalism, sorry, not pink, rainbow capitalism, which is bullshit, and we shouldn't be excited for this. And then there are ways in which the government hosts events that we should be celebrating because the government is a representation of the people. I do get annoyed when I see like bank floats at Pride. I think it's like annoying. And we recognize that, you know, anyways, we're dealing with that in our own communities, but this was important. This is NYC. Okay, that's real life. That's real life, and it's important. Okay. Now on to trans-related news as we move forward with today's stream. Lush under fire over Pride display featuring Tiger with top surgery scars. Look at that. Cute. Okay. And it says, proud of my stripes. But of course, people are upset about it because they're upset about anything and everything. But I was like, okay, Lush, right?
Most radical thing.
And then let's talk about trans people in general, because, you know, what is gender really? Depending, you know, in an ideal world, we wouldn't even have to have these exact conversations in these exact ways. Like existence itself wouldn't be a protest, but here we are. So that's just that's how you know that we're not done yet. Because, you know, as much as conservatives say, like, you don't have to make everything you are gay. You're kind of forcing us to, because now our identity is a protest because we can exist in peace. If we could exist in peace, our identity would not be, you know, that important to you. So I just want to talk about trans individuals right now because there has been an uptick like there always is, of trans murder. It's really sad. So let's talk about what we can do and how we can move forward.
Most radical thing you can do for a trans person right now is imagine them old. Here's why that's so hard. I'm Isaac, a PhD candidate trying to bring social work into the 21st century and building worlds that love us back. Stay for the whole video because this one matters the most this month. You've heard that Black trans women only live to 35. That's not a real number. It's a myth from a misread 2015 report. The real story is worse. They're not dying young, they're being killed young. The Human Rights Campaign has counted almost 400 trans people murdered since 2013, and that's an undercount because victims get dead named and missed. Most of them were young Black trans women, and a gun was used in most of the killings. That's not random. Black trans women catch racism and transphobia and the hatred aimed at trans women all at the same time, plus poverty and easy guns. The violence has a structure. Somebody built it. And now they're erasing the proof. Last year, over 500 bills targeted trans folks, and the government just deleted the questions that let us count this violence at all. If you can't be counted, you're easy to ignore. That's the point. The recent murder of Persia Amara Conway and the death of Kalena Krosky this month, we're seeing this harm played out in real time. But the worst thing we can do right now is give up hope and stop fighting. We must mourn and move forward. So this can't just be about staying alive. It's about refusing to disappear, about being so loud and so counted they can't erase you, and making sure trans folks actually get to grow old. Ancestors like Miss Major are a great example of what's possible. Black trans woman at Stonewall in 1969, raised 5 kids, spent 50 years getting trans women off the street. She refused to disappear all the way to 78, and was mama for so many. Tomorrow's Juneteenth. We're in Pride. Both exist because people refuse to disappear. So say the names of the ones we've lost so they stay counted, and build the world that lets the living ones grow old. That's the work.
Okay, love that. I think that's so important. Let's go ahead and share the TikTok. Links. Okay, love that. Very important. Moving into some of the stories of the trans women who have been killed. Okay.
The man accused of stabbing Juniper Blessing to death was in court here yesterday. As many people continue to ask why this happened, we're learning more about a life lost far too soon. With rain falling, a tribute grows at the University of Washington's Red Square. Brandon Cortez Yepes is one of many who stopped to leave flowers and honor the life of 19-year-old Juniper Blessing.
It just meant showing compassion for a fellow university student.
Investigators say Juniper was stabbed more than 40 times by a 31-year-old suspect in a laundry room at Nordheim Court Apartments Sunday night. The question is, why?
I was taken aback, horrified that I'd see that something would happen like this while I was here.
There are flowers, candles, messages for a fallen sister and a neighbor some never met.
Very tight-knit. Even if we don't know each other, we still show up for one another.
Juniper's loved one shared a statement that says in part, quote, "Our family has been shattered by the loss of our child," end quote, describing the young UW student as highly intelligent, extremely talented, and deeply sensitive. Juniper was a trans woman and, according to family, a gifted singer with a transcendent voice at the New Mexico School for the Arts from 2020 to 2024. At UW, Juniper sang with the choir. Her parents say a love of weather led her to atmospheric science while studying voice and pursuing minors in music and philosophy. It almost seems fitting fellow students stood in the cool air, soaked, to honor that legacy Friday.
It's been on my mind.
Grad student Penelope Lilly hopes a permanent memorial will eventually stand tall on UW's campus. She has children the same age.
When you are in a place that you feel safe and then something so horrendous happens there, you start to realize that the feeling of safety is just that. It's just a feeling. And that's really hard to contend with.
Juniper was described as courageous, blessed, and living life as who they were. Now, the suspect is expected to be back in court Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Of course, we'll be there to keep track of.
Okay, next story.
Well, a judge has denied.
Next story. This is from Houston.
Bond for a man. Well, a judge has denied bond for a man charged with killing a transgender woman. Police say 22-year-old Daniel Saran has confessed to killing Persia Conway. Her body was found in a southwest Houston storm drain more than 2 weeks ago. Well, a judge.
Could you just imagine that it's like the desecration of the body as well. Like just hearing Storm Drain I'm just so angry for her. I'm so angry for all of these people, for all of these women, all of these men, all of us, everybody. How devastating is this?
7 transgender people have been murdered in the past 2 months. It's important that we know their names and acknowledge the very real threats against the LGBT community and Pride Month coming up. We have to stand up for ourselves and our community. April 5th, 2026, Devonta Curtis. April 17th, 2026, Elena Belcher. April 18th, 2026, Luca Redbeard. May 10th, 2026, Juniper Blessing. May 17th, 2026, Erica Caldwell. Reported missing April 27th and found dead May 25th, Murray Faust. And on May 25th, 2026, an unidentified trans person was found dead in Houston. This is a stark reminder.
Which I think is the last woman we just learned about, I think.
Of why Pride exists, how Pride exists, and that it's used to make our voices heard and remember that we are not going back. Say their names, use your voice, and fight back.
Devastating, just absolutely devastating. Okay. All right. Okay. So again, regardless of how you identify, the way your body looks, who you are, this is what I'm saying. We need to be very careful with the way we weaponize people's bodies against them. This does go back to the Ariana Grande conversation, saying she looks scary, saying I'm frightened of her body, saying, you know what I mean? Like, this is all language people have used to discriminate against trans women, trans people, queer people, disabled people. We need to be very careful about these conversations. We need to use the right language if possible, update as soon as we can. We need to be very just aware of how much impact we have in the world. You know what I mean? Like, this is why we have to, and this is why I know I'm really, guys, the last thing I want to do is come off like somebody who is just like nitpicking, which I know I've gotten that thrown at me so much this last 2 weeks, but I don't know what to do to make it clear to people. People are dying, and you, in the name of false caring, I don't even know, are using the exact language oppressors use to justify attacking, beating, and killing and imprisoning the same people you might pretend to care about. You know what I mean? Like, why are you using oppressors' language in the name of helping? I don't understand. You know, so that's why I call it out, because again, I'm trying to build an audience of very left, very embodied, compassionate people who want to learn, people who want to change, people who want to grow, people who want to admit that the world, yes, is an evil fucking place, but we still exist. And we know we're good people. And so we know there are billions of other good people, and we're not alone. And there are billions of people that are good, who are going to be even greater tomorrow, who are going to be less bad tomorrow, less bad today. And so we're not alone. We're not there's more people who are good than we could ever imagine. And they do want to learn. They do want the updated language. They want us to tell us, oh, what word are we using? Like, they want to know. They want to be educated. And I'm trying to signal to all those people, like, hey, we're doing this now. And we're doing it in a way that says, hey, in case you don't know. But if I tell you and you double down, if your audience says something and you double down, you know what I'm saying? Then you are deliberately denying the growth. You are deliberately saying, I don't want to know. People keep telling me, I keep hearing it, but I'm going to ignore it. That's you deliberately saying, I'm not going to grow. Okay? Right? Chat says, I hope that's true, but it's hard to keep optimism. Well, I think optimism is an act of humility, because you know you're a good person, right? In order for Brittany to believe that the world is hopeless, I would then have to believe that I was special, that I was unique, that I was better than everybody, that nobody's as good as me. But I know I exist, and I know I'm not special. So that means there are billions of other people that exist just like me, which means I'm not alone. which means there are people who care, which means we can do something about this, which means that there is a reason to be optimistic, because I can't be alone in this. There can't just be me. Not when you exist, not when so many people exist, not when I know, like, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's an act of humility to stay optimistic, is to say that the world has to be a good place. Because I know you're real. You know? All right, let's do this. Let's do our normal pause. Usually an hour in is what we do. Let me stretch my legs. I'll come back and explain why suits have a tie to white supremacy. That doesn't mean you should wear suits. It just means you need to maybe spice up the suit so you don't signal to white supremacy. And I'm sure it'll be a great conversation. And then we'll talk about apologies and community building with Ethan Klein and iDubbbz and, you know, who to trust. Okay, be right back. All right. Dun, 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 dun. Pausing Elvin's music, which you can find in the description, linked in the description, both on YouTube and Spotify. 1, 2, 3, big stop. Here we go. Okay. Let's do this. I'm still fighting my chronic headaches this week. They're really bad. That's why we started earlier today. So if you're just coming into stream, this would be our normal start time. I had to start early because I was woken up early, and then my head started pounding, and then I was like, oh fuck, I better finish work today before I peace out. And happy Juneteenth to everybody just coming into stream. Okay, let's do this. So this last week, I've been talking about fashion, white supremacy, and wearing suits as it relates to Hasan Piker. I made this video, Hasan Piker and Charlemagne collab, guilty by association or just guilty. Then people started writing comments, suits are a symbol of fascism. You are deranged. And I can see everyone's like subscriber history and comment history, which I know all of us can or should be able to. And this is like a Bernie bro, and they all follow all the liberals on YouTube. And they're like, white supremacy is when you wear a suit. Wearing suits is a symbol of white supremacy. This is such a stupid thing to say. And then I was like, and they're like, Brittany Simon, this is kind of a reach, to be honest. Everyone wears suits across every industry. It doesn't stand for anything other than looking professional. What about all the black men who wear suits? Are they all white supremacists as well? It's like you're not even trying. It's like you're not even trying to use 1% of your brain. That's how it feels when I read comments like this. It's like you're not even attempting. You are fully admitting you've never read a book. You've never watched a YouTube video. You know nothing about anything. And you have the audacity to show up in my comments and argue with each other about I don't know anything. And even when I send links to people to what to read, they're like, I don't think so. Even this person who is good faith or whatever says, I disagree that Hasan wears suits because of white supremacy. I think it's more of a look, I'm a serious guy and not some random ass Twitch streamer, right? Like, guys.
Are you trying to
I know more than you. Look, I don't always know more than you, but I promise you, I know more than you when it comes to this because of the way you're leaving comments in my comment section. Fascists, first of all, love fashion. They are fashionistas. And second of all, fashion is political. Fashion is political. Look at this. In case you need a man, this is the thing. This is the thing about being a femme on the internet is I have to use men to prove my point for me, including the man you're so willing to defend at every cost. Here's Hasan Piker talking about fascism in suits.
Are you trying to reclaim suits from white supremacists?
A little. Boom! Are you trying to reclaim suits for white supremacists? Because white supremacists have been using suits to signal who they are for the last forever. Okay? That's the point. Lock in.
Are you trying to reclaim suits from white supremacists?
A little bit. I think Zoran definitely was impactful in that decision too. But the real reason why I do it is because I got clipped so much on Fox News that I was like, if I'm wearing a suit while I'm saying the things I'm saying, those grandmothers are probably going to be...
Those white supremacist grandmothers, those racist, bigoted, transphobic, anti-black grandmothers...
much more receptive, and it's literally worked.
There literally has been a positive impact of the shooting in terms of the things you say being accepted by more like mainstream America.
Yes, 100%. We're lizard brain people, man. At the end of the day, I think like when they see something that they find to be appealing, they lock in on it. They're far more receptive to what I have to say if I'm wearing a suit when I'm...
Boom! Why do you doubt me? Because you think you're smarter than me? Well, you don't even know what you're saying. That's what I'm saying. Hasan is signaling to white supremacists because he wants to, quote, win them over. And I'm saying, not interested. I am a queer person who's philosophically queer. I am not interested in white supremacy approving of my fashion, nor am I interested in making white supremacists feel comfortable. But you do you, Hasan.
Saying it.
Are you ever going to run for office?
Fuck no.
Why not?
Everybody always says this. Since I started wearing the suits, especially.
You look the part, dog.
Yeah, since I started wearing the suits, everyone's like, you're running for office. I'm like, no, I'm not. The serious response to it is like, I have so much more opportunity to promote people that come from this background that have put in the work for years and years within, Democratic Socialists of America and numerous other organizations that I can be beneficial to like 50 races at the same time, as opposed to trying to run and maybe losing in one race. You know what I mean?
You're saying all races matter?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You think that I'm absurd for being...
Here's a look. One of my favorite philosophers in Trans Icon.
You think that I'm absurd for being this? But isn't it absurd that you're afraid of colors? Isn't it like tragic that you think that if you have two prints that don't go along, you're gonna melt? Power clashing is not an aesthetic, it's a way of living. It's actually about saying all these things, all these rules, they're not reality. Why would I take my style advice from patriarchy?
Or in some situations, white supremacy. Now look, Discord said respectability politics 101. If Hasan Piker is making the decision and you are hearing him say, I am making a decision to signal to white supremacy. Yes, not in favor of white supremacy, but I am trying to make white supremacists feel safe. That's what I'm saying about Suits having a connection to white supremacy. And of course, there's a history to it. Okay. We know this with all of the protests that had happened with white nationalists, how far right groups are using fashion symbols. Whoops. Hello. Go away ad. Oh my gosh. How far right groups are using fashion symbols to recruit the youth, right? We know fascists use fashion. You know, if you look a certain particular way, that is going to be a signal, right? Here's Pepe. It's going to be a signal, right? Whether we like it or not, some of our favorite fashion icon. Look at these boots getting co-opted by the right. Okay. Whether we like it or not, okay, there is a look. And that look is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying Hassan can't wear suits. Okay. I'm not saying that. Discord said, now I want to hear you say in a Jersey accent, what do you think, you're smarter than me? You think you're smarter than me? Like, this is the problem I'm having, where I understand, listen, and may this be my reputation. May my reputation be, not only do I know more than you, but I know when I don't know. And I have the humility to go, I don't know about that. Tell me more. Because I am not in this alone. I don't do this alone. I do this with a collective, with a group, with a community. It's not just about me. I'm not the main character. We are the main character, okay? Because our lives are at stake. Well, Hassan Piker is literally making millions, quote unquote, championing for us. He's also making millions appealing to white supremacists on Fox News, which is why when he has conversations with old white MAGA grandmas from the Necessary Conversation, which I think is a bullshit podcast, supporting and promoting white supremacist ideas and MAGA ideas to make money off of us, it's disgusting. Well, he plays fun with them. It is just a direct threat to our relationship and existence. He's literally making friends. They are literally saying, we love Hassan Piker. He's our friend, while still voting against all of our civil rights. And then he's just sitting here going like, oh, I love them. They're so cute, dude. They're like, great. I love them. It's like, bro, listen to me. I will be kind to my MAGA neighbors, meaning I will feed you and I will clothe you and I will not ask you who you voted for. But we are working. They are working. Those podcasters are not your neighbors. They're working. They're networking. They are building off your audience. You just converted to, let's say, 2% of your audience, Hassan, into their daily viewers. You just put money directly into fascist hands. What are you doing? What are you doing? How does that make sense? If those were my parents, absolutely not. If those were my parents, why would I subject my audience to my parents' bigotry? Why would I do that? That's why I don't trust those kids, because why would you do this to your parents? You can have these necessary conversations at home, in private. Okay, so we know fashion sends a message, whether you like it or not. Khakis and polo shirts are out, girls. We can't be seen wearing them, okay? Okay, so for Hassan Piker to say with his full chest, oh yeah, it's working. These grandmas think I'm more respectable. That's my point. You better learn to respect me or nothing. I remember when, I wasn't going to talk about this, but now let me find a picture. Do you remember when Beyonce and the Chicks performed at the Country Music Awards? And it was like an amazing experience. The song was amazing. Everything was amazing. I remember trying to show this to conservatives because I was like, look how good Beyonce is. And they're like, I don't like her outfit. I don't like the way she looks. I think it's too revealing. Have you seen Dolly Parton? Have you seen Dolly Parton? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're living in a world where people can't fathom or imagine that anything the people they decided they don't like that they can't imagine that anybody they decided they don't like already is doing anything that would make them say, oh, I like it. Like, you hate Beyonce so much, you won't even like anything she does, but not because she's a billionaire and not because she hangs out with Ivanka Trump, but because, or was seen with Ivanka Trump at a charity dinner, but because she's black. So in my comment section, because I'm a good faith girly, I posted this clip. Okay, Stanford Social Innovation Review. Okay, it's a really short read. I know it looks long, but it's not. It's a pretty short read. Most of these are comments, which are fun to read as well. But it's a really short read about how white supremacy plays into how the bias of professionalism standards are a play into white supremacy. And this is my point, that Hassan is playing this game. And this is the problem. I tell you right now, if his name was Jake, you would never know he was a Muslim. You would think he was some boy born in wherever. And that's the point. The point is, okay, do you know what white passing means? White passing didn't mean passing for white. White passing meant people who try to remove themselves or separate themselves furthest from being a marginalized person of color, black person. It was meant to represent minority people who deny their blackness or deny so not that Hassan is doing that, because Hassan openly says he's a Muslim. He openly says he's from Turkey. He openly says things. It's to say though, that when he, in my mind, says I am fully engaging by wearing suits and I'm fully engaging by wearing suits that white people will like, I am, in many ways, he is white passing. And so there is something about that to me that I feel like is really icky, because again, like he could have worn, I don't know, a more interesting tie or some colors or something interesting. Like he could have, I don't know, Turkeyed it up. Isn't there something in Turkey he could have like worn that was more, you know what I'm saying? Isn't there something like interesting we could have done here instead of just fully saying like, oh yeah, I want moms on Fox News to think I'm not a threat to them, or grandmas on Fox News? Like, you mean racist white women? Like, what are we talking about here? What is the point of that? Like, he has a Palestine pin. I believe that's a Palestine pin, and that's great, but it's too subtle. I don't appreciate the subtle. I don't like it. I don't think it should be subtle. Now, going back to white supremacist haircuts and everything like this, this became a very big look. Remember when Malcolm Moore was told you better change your haircut because it looks like a white nationalist haircut? It's because the boys love pristine fashion. They have it here. Here's a story about Malcolm Moore. Remember, during the 2010s, the American and Israeli press associated the undercut with alt-right agitators, such as the American white supremacist Richard Spencer, or British far-right and anti-Islam activist Tommy Robinson. So you'll remember, loading. Here, Macklemore had to address his haircut as it maybe looked like something a white nationalist would have. Okay, so let me go here. Oh, let me go here. Okay, so here's Tommy Robinson. You probably know him. Okay. He's the worst little agitator, this man. Okay, look at his haircut.
I mean, come on.
Oops, ignore that. Ignore that. Nope, ignore Anthony. Just not yet. We're not ready for that.
We take you to...
Oh, ignore that. Okay, let me scroll. Nope, ignore that. Hold on, I have too many tabs open. Richard Spencer, here we go. Okay, remember Richard Spencer, the Hail Hitler guy? Remember when that happened? Okay, this is why hair matters, fashion matters, and matters what you look like. Okay, don't piss me off right now. Brother in Christ. Hold on, let me see if I can do it before it adds me. Damn it! Fine. Okay, let's go here. Ignore everything. Okay, let me see if they show me another picture. Actually, no, watch me do this. Hold on. Watch me make a decision. Here we go. Okay, so if you just Google, too, the fashion of it all, there's something about, let me do this, the pristine aesthetic. If you just white nationalist suits, there's always this look, this particular look. Do you see it with Richard Spencer? This particular look, okay? And I'm saying we have to pay attention to that because it's not on accident that people expect people to look a particular way. It's not an accident that they look really, really crisp or really, really specific, okay? Now, hold on. Give me a second. Hold on. I have too many tabs open. Give me a second. Let me switch tabs. Let me bring out this tab, which is a bunch of other things I want to show you. Uno momento. Okay, do you guys have any questions, by the way? I don't mean to ignore chat. Any questions? Let me scroll. Brittany, is it wrong to just be a boring dresser? I love khakis and polos. Do you have to change just because something terrible wears something? So okay, you don't have to do anything, right? Like a reminder, I am not telling you to do anything. I'm not making a prescription. I'm not telling you anything. I'm saying, just so you know, the way you look can be political, is political, and somebody might think you're a fucking white supremacist if you have a white supremacist fucking haircut. The same way somebody might think you're a white supremacist if you have a Nazi tattoo. Okay? And I'm saying you don't have to do anything about it, but that's why people might be looking at you funny at the grocery store. And it's probably because they're not sure if you're about to Hail Hitler on them standing next to the oranges. You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, we all should see punk culture, rebellious culture, queer culture, symbolism as what it is. Okay? It's a point, it's a statement. Okay? So I'm just saying, I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm saying just so you know. And then you can make a decision. I had one of my brothers was using one of the emojis that I was like, hey, don't use that emoji. That emoji is like white supremacist. And he was like, oh shit. And then he just changed. Like, you can do it, but it's white supremacist. Don't do it. You know what I mean? Because again, you might say, but it's an emoji and it's on my phone. And would it be there if it wasn't white supremacist? It doesn't matter, because online communities take the emojis. It doesn't matter. Okay. Like, you know the nail sign too, how like people use it for gay, or they use it even derogatory. They use it like zesty, like derogatory, like they're calling you gay. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't matter. The question is, who are you using it with? Are you all reading it the same way? Is it derogatory? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, this is why I'm saying, just pay attention. Just think about what you're doing. Like, think about what you think is funny. Like, think about why you think certain things are, how they came to be. And this is why I say what happens on the internet matters. Like the OK sign, we've been talking about the white power sign. It might have started as a meme, but it turned into a dog whistle for white supremacy, which even the administration picked up. So again, when we have these conversations, I want you to tell people, call it out, get people to see it as fast as possible. Because what is a funny joke between two boys, like, they're stupid. Like, the world is a stupid place. Everybody is stupid, and I'm stupid and you're stupid. And we need to help each other be less stupid. And we have to be open to being receptive to the fact that maybe we're being stupid right now. My bad, dude. I'm sorry. I'm being stupid. I don't know why I'm fighting you on this. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? So if you just look up the history of Suits, there's a lot of really amazing videos on the internet about the complete history of the suit. A lot of them don't talk enough about the white supremacist connection because it's not fashion interesting, but it always involves royals. It always involves rich people trying to, prove their status. It always, you know what I'm saying? So I'm saying you can wear a suit. Just think about how you're wearing the suit. That's why gay suits exist. That's why people have gay fashion, but suits.
Conversely, a bit of a stickler that you had to be, you wouldn't go to Ascot in something you go shooting in.
And then, like he just said, you wouldn't go here in clothes you would shoot in. They had shooting clothes. And that's a sign of wealth too, having multiple outfits for multiple times of the day. Oh, here's my shooting clothes. Here's my going out evening dress. This is also a point of status symboling. Because that's what you're doing. You're symboling, you're saying, I have status, I have money. Look at all these clothes I have. This idea of I don't wear clothes more than once, or I have a $10,000 suit. Like, when people can't even pay groceries, like, yeah, it's a status symbol.
That you wouldn't go on your yacht.
Which is why Fetterman was so malicious, really, wearing a hoodie all the time, because he acted like he was one of the bros while also having to fund Israel. But that's why Fetterman's campaign worked so well, because he was like, the guy in the hoodie, like, chill, bro. But then he wore it as a costume. That's the idea, is like, are you wearing a costume right now? That's my question. Is this a costume or is this who you are?
With something you go riding in. But he's a great character we could talk something about. Edward VII, or Prince of Wales, as he was for quite a long time.
And he was the Prince of Wales who gave us the Prince of Wales check, I believe.
No, that's what's believed, yeah.
Okay.
You know what they call it, Glen Urquhart these
days.
Yeah.
Because again, he's often, because what was it, his great-great-grandson, Duke of Windsor, who's also Prince of Wales, wore the similar check. Yes, you often read it's associated to him, but actually in the 19th century, he was the one that gave us what we now call Prince of Wales check.
Confusingly, he was.
I actually just learned too that Croatia apparently is maybe the creator of the cravat. So fun. Dobar dan. That's so I was like, oh my God, Croatia, look at us, So again, there's something here about the history of, I'm not saying you can't wear a suit. I'm not saying you can't dress cool in a suit. I'm saying be careful of the type of suit you have, just like a haircut. Like, be careful of the haircut you have. Okay? That's what I'm saying. Okay, now this is the scandalous history of the tuxedo. I want to point something out here.
If you're going to a fancy wedding during the daytime, this is what would be required.
So the daytime has different clothing, the evening
This
time.
cutaway style is not just for morning dress. It can be worn throughout the day in less formal fabrics, but those are the three major cuts.
Okay, look at her fashion. She is wearing a suit jacket, but she's not signaling to white supremacy because she has green in her hair and she has a goth aesthetic. She's signaling safety to goth communities, queer communities. I'm getting a lot of safety of makeup as well. She doesn't dress in the modest kind of no makeup look. That's why I stay away from words like clean girl aesthetic because they have ties to white supremacy. She's signaling a lot of really positive things while wearing a suit jacket.
That we see for day wear. For evening wear, if we're talking about a formal evening attire, that's where the tailcoat comes in. And this style was the prevalent cut for decades leading up to that 1860s point, and it sort of gets relegated to just formal wear as well as servants attire. There's also completely informal evening wear, but that is on the extreme side. Things like lounge coats. Think the smoking jacket of today, which is called a smoking jacket in the latter 19th century as well. And this is the most laid back and casual. This is not to be worn in mixed company. This is not to be worn in formal or even really informal situations. It is the most casual of lounging. You might have noticed that this sort of leaves a gap. In the evening attire, unless you're just wearing your daytime clothing, which for the very wealthy, the very fashionable, doesn't really make sense, you're stuck with either very formal or very informal, and there's nothing really in between. So that is where this new garment starts to come in. Its origins trace back supposedly to the Prince of Wales, Prince Albert, and he was known for being pretty fashionable in his day. And in 1865, he had Henry Poole and Company, which was the premier tailor in London at the time, make him a blue silk smoking jacket with silk collar and cuffs. They still have this in their record book, so we know that this was made with a matching pair of trousers. And supposedly, during the next roughly 20 years, this particular style of garment meant for something in between informal and formal situations in the evening was starting to take on a very distinct life of its own. In 1868, Harper's Bazaar wrote, "An effort is being made in England to alter the whole character of evening attire, taking away its resemblance to a livery and making it more varied. The design is a coat with a broad collar rolling low and meeting the front edge of the skirt, variety velvet and rich blue cloth with mounted gilt buttons. If this style is adopted abroad, it will soon become popular here, as gentlemen have long been weary of the monotonous and somber dress prescribed for them on the most joyous occasions." So while the record in Henry Poole's book isn't overly descriptive of something beyond a smoking jacket, if we start to put it in the context of this description, this is the beginnings of the garment we would eventually come to know. The description, though much longer here, is still fairly vague. It doesn't give us the exact cut of the coat, nor does it give us all of the trimmings and decor, but we start to see evidence of this potential competition to evening attire showing up in.
Okay, so now we're building a picture of all of it is about status, what is symbols, time of day, accessibility to garments, being able to even put in the order, people of wealthy status, fashionable for a time. All of these layers play into it. I always think it's about quality of fabric, and I think there's something about the way you show up looking well put together. That's kind of how I think we should think about professionalism over this idea that it has to be the most expensive or the most flashy. Also, remember that story about that news host who wore the same suit every day on air for like a year to prove that his female counterparts couldn't get away with the same thing? Because these women they're always like, people are always emailing about their clothes. They're always like saying, why'd you wear the same thing more than once? Like, women are held to completely different standards as well of professionalism, including on the news or daytime shows. So there's layers to this. Now, let me see. My Discord shared this and says, here's an example. Let's see here, of not giving into white supremacy. Loading. Let's see. I think I might get copyrighted for this. Okay, let's see. Nice. And matches the, okay, nice. But you see here, in order to pull this off, you would have to have style. And I don't think our boy, I don't think Hassan Piker has fashion style, which I'll get into in a minute. But I think that's the problem. I think in order to pull this kind of stuff off, oh my God, is that an ad? You would actually have to be fashionable. And I don't think he is. I think he is, and this might be his autism. I will give him some leeway for this. This actually might be autism, ADHD. As an autistic girly, I always struggle with like my style. And also, of course, I have to be responsible with how I spend my money. I was so into everything I was wearing in my 20s. I'm in a lull period myself because of money. But you bet when I get money, okay? Right? Because at the end of the day, things cost money. So I'm in my gym era where I basically just wear gym clothes and I work out. And that's like who and what I am. But with that said, Hassan is a trending girly. He just does whatever's trending. Okay, this article came out in Cosmopolitan. We remember this era of Hassan. Hassan doesn't know who he is, and that's the problem. The problem is he only started wearing suits because the way people talked about him. He is a follower. He doesn't know who he is. He hasn't gone to therapy. He doesn't introspect. He doesn't have a day off. He is just doing whatever people say. If they're like, Hassan, you look hot doing this, he's going to do that. Hassan, you look responsible doing this. He's like, oh, I'm going to do that. He doesn't know who he is. Okay. So this era of Hassan was very specific. Okay. This is absolutely Tumblr Hassan. Like this, you know, and I get it. I like trending stuff too. He started painting his nails because that's what people were doing, but it's not who he is. Like this isn't Hassan. He doesn't know who he is yet. And that's okay. It takes a long time to know who you are. But I'm saying that's why you have to work on it. Because like, you know, and I'm just saying like this is still happening with suits right now. The suits look better, by the way. The suits do look better than this whole, whatever this was, hipster era. Okay? And so at least the suits are a better upgrade. But remember, this also connects to who Hassan Piker is. And I want you to remember this. He is a fuckboy. He's a fuckboy, handsome boy who got picked because you guys haven't decentered men. And if you really pay attention to who he is, he should never have been the guy. And I'm not saying this because, listen, I understand that Republicans and conservatives and Democrats and Ethan Klein are going for Hassan. But just because they're weaponizing things that are untrue and true of him and mixing the truth doesn't mean he isn't problematic. Do you know what I mean? I am telling you right now, I don't know. You know, and again, this is for the girlies. This is for serious people. This is my commentary. It is for serious people because I don't have time to argue with. Doesn't Ethan Klein say that? Who cares what Ethan Klein is saying? Who cares what conservatives are saying? I'm saying it. And I'm sick of you not holding people accountable because your cult enemies are saying it. In this interview with Cosmopolitan, the writer, I think Hannah's her name, says, before we head to the highlight room against his publicist's wishes, Piker pulls out his phone to show me examples of his impact via Snapchat DM fans, sending them wearing his merch. A black t-shirt he designed that says racism, bigotry, patriarchy, white supremacy, inequality, oppression, intolerance, and injustice. On it, in white letters, each word crossed out. Funny that white supremacy is crossed out, but he just admitted current day Hassan is appealing to white supremacy. Okay, crossed out in red. He sold nearly 2,000 of them so far. It's so dope, he says, opening Snapchat. I don't know if any of these are nudes, he said. Don't judge me. The first one is a nude. He reads the message and chats out loud. I'm sure you have hot girls throwing themselves at you all the time, but I'm a huge fan of TYT and love your work. As promised, there are photos in his inbox of fans wearing the shirt, but it's about 70% nudes. Whoa, that's crazy, he says, methodically opening each message. That was like actually her blowing someone. I don't like talk to any of these people. That's butt stuff. Cool. The next day, Hassan jokes that his career will be over when my article comes out. Maybe he said too much, showed me one too many Snapchat DMs. But a few months later in February 2018, he doesn't seem too worried about his personal persona, tweeting, this Valentine's Day, I encourage every conservative pundit to eat ass and get their ass eaten and might help them loosen up a bit. It's 2018 and we've already moved on to spitting in mouths, but y'all can try that shit. Wait, you can't. but y'all can try that 2017 shit. This is why I'll never be hired by mainstream outlets. Okay, so now he's playing I Wear a Suit Hassan. Okay, so now he's playing this Hassan. Okay, that was an older Hassan. But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if you're getting Snapchat messages, girls, I shut this down right away. If I get a nude from someone, I block them. The fact that Hassan isn't blocking them, saying that's so frustrating, I'm so annoyed by that, it's gross. Please don't send me videos of you guys blowing people. Like, what are you doing? Don't send me videos of your tits. But you know what I'm saying? He is just a dude, bro. And I'm saying this right now. That's why I'm frustrated, because like, why aren't we talking about this? And look, maybe he's hardcore changed his policy, but even recent interviews with Brittany Broski, he literally said, I encourage people to send me nudes. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, I know Republicans are trying to weaponize sex against him, but guys, just, you know, fuck the Republicans. This is serious. Rape culture is so fucking real. And I don't know why we're ignoring it. Because of what? I want him to come out and say, give me a video. Send me a video of Hassan Piker scolding his fans and saying to them, if you seriously care about fascism, you will not send me nudes. Like, show me videos. Countless times Hassan has said, give me videos of him shutting it down aggressively and seriously, to the point where these girls feel ashamed. And I don't see one more girl on TikTok talking about how maybe if Hassan sees this. I'm sick of it. Okay, I'm absolutely sick of it. And then on top of that, he's literally talking about, you know, women appealing to, and I get it, like collages like this will come out and people will be like, oh, those are from Hassan's ops. It doesn't matter who it's from. They're from Hassan's mouth. That's what I'm saying. I don't care who made the video. It's coming from his mouth. So unless this is completely out of context, it's his mouth. You know what I mean? His ops have no jobs. His ops need to get a life. His ops also need to go to therapy. But why is this? Why am I seeing this?
I mean, come on. There's got to be moments in your life where even you've shown like naked pictures of a friend or something to another.
have like nothing to hide, huh, Hassan?
What?
You can just so confidently give her your phone.
Oh no, I saw some shit I should not have seen and I feel very bad, but it's okay.
Wait, what did you see?
Stuff.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're
What
talking
is
about.
that?
What?
And look, I get it. These compilations are made by people who hate Hassan, but that's the point. The point is that all these girls are with him. All of them know he has nudes of people. He's showing nudes, and I'm saying, stop. You know what I mean? Chat says, so he's being sent things against his will. It's his fault. No, it's not against his will. It's with his encouragement. There's the difference. He's not taking down he's not taking down the Snapchat. He's not making it clear to people. He just did a photo shoot with Days, which was a nice photo shoot in general, but it's very like he's sexy. It's very lay on the bed. You know what I mean? It's very like, I'm Hassan Piker, look at me. And I'm saying, hey, even as a sex worker, I don't let people send me nudes. I'm a sex worker and I don't let people send me nudes. You're not allowed to. If you send me nudes, I block you. He's not even a sex worker, but he's playing one only without any of the stigma. Once again, because he always gets to play everything without the stigma. He just did this Dazed shoot, you know, him laying in bed. He looks good. A lot of these are fine, but it's it's supposed to be sexy. Do you know what I'm saying? Why are you doing sexy shoots? Are you fighting fascism and caring about people having a you know what I mean? I would never mix in my activism for Palestine with my sex work. These are separate things, unless I'm advocating for sex work Palestinians. But these are separate things. You know what I'm saying? And he mixes them. And I'm saying, why are you mixing sexy fuckable Hassan with advocacy for a genocide? Why are you mixing your two worlds? You know what I'm saying? It feels weird. You know, and that's because it takes a long time to realize this, to realize like, hey, be serious, you know, but this is what I'm saying, like laying on the bed, doing like, you know what I'm saying? Hold on, let me see. Okay, like this, you know what? It's not to say Hassan is ugly. It's to say that why? Like, okay, this one's appropriate. This one's appropriate. This one's fine. I mean, again, it's fine. It's fine. But like this one, inappropriate. There was one more that was inappropriate. The one where he's like holding his own neck. Again, which one do you want to be? Because again, there is a way to be sexy and strong. There is a way to do it, but it has to be balanced with your ethics. And I'm saying if there's no balance with the ethics, okay? It's not to say that he can't do a photo shoot. It's to say, where's the balance? So when he goes on to say this,
Are you trying to reclaim suits from white supremacists?
A little bit. I think Zoran definitely was impactful in that decision too. But
Zoran is a politician. Politicians wear suits, and there's something about that. You're not a politician. Aren't you just a guy? Do you know what I'm saying? So which one is it? Are you a politician or are you just a guy? Are you trying to be an adult or are you not trying to be? It's like he's a kid playing house, but it all connects to signaling to white supremacy because he didn't even choose suits that were a little rebellious. You can break every rule in the book and you're not even breaking it because he isn't a radical.
Real reason why I do it is because I got clipped so much on Fox News that I was like, if I'm wearing a suit while I'm saying the things I'm saying, those grandmothers are probably going to be much more receptive. And it's literally worked.
There literally has been a positive impact of the suiting in terms of the things you say being accepted by more like mainstream America.
Yes. 100%. We're lizard brain people, man. At the end of the day, I think like when they see something that they find to be appealing, they lock in on it. They're far more receptive to what I have to say if I'm wearing a suit when I'm saying it.
Are you ever going to run for office?
Fuck no.
Why not?
Everybody always says this.
He probably couldn't run for office in the sense that he doesn't know what he's doing. It's too much work. He hasn't really worked in public office. He hasn't really done the work to work in public office. So again, when I see videos like this, because guys, what is the point of the suit for white supremacists? It's to talk about dominance. It's to say that poor people aren't as good as us, as moral as us. If pretty privilege makes you think people who are pretty are more ethical, which is true, they've done studies on this, then he's playing into that narrative. He's playing into a narrative he admits to himself that allows him to be seen as better than he is, to appeal to people, to move a movement forward, even if it comes at the expense of other people, because that's the point. So white supremacists do this too. I remember even in the UK, there was like this whole thing about the election where it showed like working class people against Republican or like conservatives. And it was like suits versus regular clothes. And they do that in the United States too, because what if you're a person who can't afford a suit? And then you can't afford a fitted suit, and then you can't afford a nice suit. And then this is why they made fun of Zelensky in the White House. They made fun of Zelensky because he wasn't in a suit. Do you even own a suit? Do you guys remember this? It's all connected. So when Hassan says, oh, I'm going to start wearing a suit to appeal to white supremacist grandmas on Fox News, okay? So again, don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. You don't know what you're talking about, okay? And then Hassan saying it with his full chest should have been enough for you. Okay, this Cosmopolitan interview, not aging well, should have been a point for you. But it isn't, because you just want to say that Hassan can never be wrong and he's always perfect because you're too busy thinking he's going to be the one to save us from fascism. Okay, now, to make my point a little bit more clear, there's also a specific aesthetic that I call NPR aesthetic that he is also aiming to go towards. And this is highlighted in, hold on, I did not bring it up. So let me go pull it up really fast. Hassan, oopsies, hold on, ignore that. Hassan Piker interview. Not this one, not this one, not this one, not this one. Oh my God, he has been everywhere. This one's a good one. Okay, this is an example I can use. Wasn't even the one I was thinking about, but it works. Okay, you see this fit he has on? Where he's got the hat with the suit and tie? Okay, right? It's this. Okay, he's doing this thing. It's NPR, this fucking, you know what I'm saying? Okay, it can work sometimes, but it is a specific look. Okay, this is a good example. Okay, it's like this. It's like this white supremacist club, Ivy League, frat, weird fucking white supremacist shit. Okay, hold on. Jamel does it as well. Jamel's black, so that's why I want to use him as an example. He does it as well. He looks really good. There's nothing, I'm not saying he's not good looking. Again, he's handsome, but also, it's a very specific look that plays really well with certain people. It's fine. At least Jamel spices it up with some color. At least he does it, but it looks a little bit like he golfs. It does look a little bit like Jamel golfs. And then that makes me go, golfing also feels white supremacist. I'm going to say it. Golfing is also white supremacist. You know what I mean? So at least he has color. At least he has aesthetic to it. But again, When we have these conversations, they don't happen in a vacuum. Okay? None of this stuff is happening in a vacuum, and everybody should know this. Like, everyone should know this. This is on purpose. And out of all the decisions this millionaire could have made, why this one? And I say millionaire because he can afford to look any way he wants. You can look any way you want, and this is what you chose. A lot of us are limited by our budget. What are you limited by? Probably not having enough gay friends, honestly, queer friends to help him, you know? But it's like, what is this? Okay? Again, I know a lot of people are like, this is crazy. This is a far reach, Brittany. But it's not, because he admitted it himself. He's absolutely doing it on purpose. Now, this also plays into white women and white supremacy, because remember, capitalism, white supremacy, and patriarchy, the big three, okay? So then we have, if you guys have any questions, guys, highlight my name or something, because I'm not paying attention to chat. But if you have any questions, I can answer them. And we do philosophy through pop culture here. So when you think about this philosophically, we're thinking about the greater meaning, especially being a public figure, especially having a microphone, especially knowing people are watching you, which is different, okay? So here's this. The other day I talked about anti-Blackness as it relates to the female form. And I talked about how growing up as a kid, I was always, because I'm Assyrian, I'm West Asian, I'm in this really weird position where I'm not white enough to be with my white girlfriends. I'll never look like them. I'll never have their bodies. I'll never have their proportions. But I'm not black or brown in the way that I'm clocked right away. But I'm always like kind of seen as like what's going on there. You know what I mean? So growing up, if my friends and I were playing games as kids, I was always like, you know, if the TV show was like a black girl and a white girl, I was the black girl, because obviously my white friends were going to play the black girl. And then obviously Brittany would, because she had curly hair and she had proportions and it matched, and she was aggressive and a Taurus. And that was so stereotypical for black characters. Okay. So then I internalized a lot of black women in particular really gave me my confidence growing up, because they were my teachers in many ways, taught me to do my hair, take care of my skin, all that stuff. That plays into, though, boobs, the chest. So the chest on a woman or girl, when she develops too quickly and she's got bigger breasts from a young age, we're sexualized and objectified. Our bodies are seen as more adult. You know, we have all of these things. My white friends who are flat chested with no butt got childhood a lot longer than I did, right? And on top of having a childhood longer than I did, they also got the benefit of the doubt that they were classier because of the way that clothes fit them. When clothes fit me, I got pinned as a slut from a very early age, which I ended up going aggressively into because I felt like I had no choice. And also, to be fair, it was a part of my liberation out of conservatism. I learned to have a healthier relationship with it. I went through my liberal stage, and I went through my, pick me stage, and I went through all of these stages of deconstructing my body. But when we look at high fashion for white women and we connect it to white supremacy, we're also looking at the daintiness of their figure, the flat chestedness of their figure, the way they wear a suit, the way they're admired. Princess Diana had great fashion, but she also had the benefit of being a very, like a smaller chest person. Her proportions were very specific. She pulled off suits in a very specific, like, humility way. She would never be called slutty. That's not what she would be called. She had almost a boyishness to her. Her short hair helped with that. She also, she was very well liked. She was a big advocate. She had a lot of good things going for her. And she also could pull off not only this feminized version of a suit, but this also very boyish, outdoorsy, to be trusted kind of aesthetic you see here, which I love this aesthetic, but I could never make it work because of my hips and my boobs. But I love it. Girlies, if I ever get my boobs removed, let you just know I'm going to start looking like this every day. Okay? But I also, at the same time, know that it signals kind of quiet wealth to some people, a very specific look, a very specific aesthetic. So I also want to be careful there, because I know there became this obsession online about signaling quiet wealth. And I think we have to be careful. Look, I get it. There's something about this, but it also looks like the girl owns 10 horses. And we know that means you are wealthy. So again, the way you signal, the way you look, like the way you have these conversations, it's very interesting, but this look in particular, this one in particular, you know what I'm saying? It's like there is a signal here of wealth and white supremacy and daintiness and all of these things, okay? So it is very interesting. And I can get the aspiration of wanting to be a certain type of person, but this is what I'm saying about be careful about your willingness to signal to white supremacy. You know what I mean? there's layers to this. It's very nuanced, but I'm trying to make a point that whether you like it or not, especially if you're trapped in a bubble where you have to perform like Princess Di was, it means that you don't always get to pick and choose. I mean, look at Meghan Markle. Look at what they do to Meghan Markle. Look at what they do to Meghan Markle for no fucking reason other than she's black, okay? Look at the way they go for her. Like you could say what you want about her, but she will never be good enough to this bubble. They will never like her or embrace her because she is black. I'm telling you. Okay? Right? This is important. Chad, I'm going to block you because you're so fucking unserious. You said maybe don't bring up a Zionist like Bowie. Who is that? Bowie? Bougie? Bowie? Who are you talking about? As comparison when criticizing a pro-Palestinian guy? First of all, Hassan being pro-Palestine doesn't allow him to get away with anything else. Period. Okay? You do this all the time. You act like being pro-Palestine, which should be the basic, automatically doesn't allow anyone to criticize people. This is why you let Tucker Carlson in the with you guys in the tent, because you think all of a sudden he's allowed. No, fuck Tucker Carlson. Fuck all these boys. Okay, being pro-Palestine is great. It's the basics. You should have done it without me trying to ask you to. Okay, we all should have just done it automatically, right? Okay, now look at Meghan Markle. She tries, bro. She does. She plays a little game. She tries to play the game. They force her to in a big way. That's why I'm kind of glad they got out. And also this whole royal family thing, that's fucking white supremacist too. What are we talking about here? Like, they just hate Meghan Markle. They hate everything about her. Nobody's in her court. Like, again, you don't have to like her, but you know for a fact you hate her because of what? Like, don't act like you know her enough to hate her either. You know what I mean? And so again, like when we look at this and we think about this bubble and we think about what she had to do to even be slightly accepted by this bubble, it's like you have to hate yourself to be in this bubble, which we know Hassan hates himself because he talks about it all the time. And that's what I'm saying. Ethan Klein hates himself too. Don't get it twisted. Guys, I don't know when you're going to accept. Destiny hates himself. Vosh hates himself. Hassan hates himself. Ethan hates himself. All these boys hate themselves. That's why they spend all of their life and all of their money and all of their wealth on doing absolutely nothing about getting better. Absolutely nothing about investing in their health. And then it ends up becoming a problem for their communities. All of these boys have major problems. They talk about it openly on stream and everybody just writes it off like it isn't a big deal and it isn't impacting the way they make content or the way they show up or the way they do activism, which is why you have all these men who are quote on the left being the worst people on the internet in different ways. And the only reason Hassan gets away with it, though it won't last, I guarantee you, I predict it right now. There's going to be something. There's already something. There's already enough to me. But the fact that it isn't enough for you, you just wait. Because no man who has this reputation is clean. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's going to take. But I'm telling you right now, no way does Destiny, Vosh, all these people have shit. Ethan had shit on Reddit. You're telling me Hassan Piker doesn't, even though everything he's shown you tells it should have been enough? If other men had what Hassan had, it would have been enough for you. That's so interesting to me, how you let it pass with him. That's what I'm saying. Even every time I try to be good faith with Hassan, by the way, just so you know, I try to be so good faith with him, I keep going, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. And I keep Googling about Hassan to prove to myself I'm wrong. And I just get literally reassured that I'm right. That's the problem. Why do I keep finding all these horrible things about Hassan Piker? And you guys keep saying, like, I don't know why you don't like him. But then when I tell you about it, you're like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, there you go. Because every time I think, okay, maybe I'm the problem. Oops. Nope. I'm just right. My intuition's right. My data is correct. You know what I mean? Chess says, but what is it that keeps giving him the pass? People like the way he looks. That's not, guys, this is statistics. This is literally statistics. This is literally data. We've done studies on this about how people are treated better because of the way they look. That's why they want you to wear suits so they can decide to treat you better. That's why they want you to assimilate. That's why they want you to get rid of your ethnic clothes, your cultural clothes, the way you look, so they can decide to treat you better. That's why a look says, why would I want to take fashion advice from patriarchy? And it's because if a look did, a look would be treated better. People will tell a look, you deserve to be treated badly because of how you look. Because of how you dress yourself, because of how you present, you deserve to be treated badly.
You think that I'm absurd for being this, But isn't it absurd that you're afraid of colors?
They're literally like, why would you dress like that when you know people are going to hate you? Why would you choose to look like this when you know people are going to discriminate against you? Why would you have funny, hair colors if you know people are going to not give you jobs?
Isn't it like tragic that you think that if you have two prints that don't go along, you're going to melt? Power clashing is not an aesthetic, it's a way of living. It's actually about saying all these things, all these rules, they're not reality. Why would I take my style advice from patriarchy? You think
This is what I'm telling you. We need this as the future, but when I present that, people go, Brittany, no one's going to buy into that. That's why in 2008 and around when we were talking about gay marriage for the time that it didn't pass, people tried to put in the front of the marketing the gays who were acceptable. Oh, I'm not like other gays. I'm a normal gay. I have a normal family in a nuclear home. I'm like a normal gay. Okay? Right? And so a look is trans, they're they, them, they are out here, they're fighting patriarchy. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying for all of us. That's why a lot of my youth, I had blue hair and piercings. And this is why conservatives, what's the first attack conservatives use? What's the first attack conservatives use? Blue-haired nose ring. So when I was in my 20s, I had blue hair and a nose ring. Because look at you trying to weaponize something that has no correlation to ethics, but instead symbolizes to other people that I am queer and that I am progressive. Right? And look, if I didn't have such bad allergies, I would have kept that nose ring, Well, my allergies were not going to help me, okay? So the point is that when we have these conversations about looking a particular way, do it because it's authentic to who you are, but always recognize that things are political. I would love to live in a world where I could get 100% behind a Hassan Piker, but I can't because he reminds me of every single guy who's ever been online, on the internet, a debate bro, a gamer, in politics, who just literally says it, tells you out loud, and you just don't believe him. Believe people when they tell you who they are. Hassan literally tells us every day who he is, and I keep trying to disprove again, I would love for him not to be. But he just is. Okay? And that's just what it is. So, okay, again, suits and white supremacy absolutely go hand in hand, but so does looking clean, so does specific grooming habits. Even you remember that Sikh woman who they don't believe in shaving their hair. Remember she had a beard and people were like, oh, like they were making fun of her and they were like, well, that's a stupid belief if it doesn't let you shave your beard. Like, you have to understand, these are adult people saying these things. These are grown-ups. My issue is not with children right now. My issue is grown-ups. We live in a world where grown-ups won't give a look a job because their hair is rainbow. We live in a world where adults won't give you a job unless you own a nice suit. We live in a world where the president of the United States and his bully cronies, can I use the word crony? Is that racist? I don't know. Bad guys, cronies. Okay? They make fun of Zelensky for not wearing a suit. Grown-ups. 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 And that's what I'm saying. Grown-ups, adults. And then Hassan Piker with his full chest says he's playing into it. Says he is trying to appeal to white supremacy. TMM's in the chat says I always wear a rainbow tie when I have to wear a suit so people don't think I'm a square. There you go. Whatever it takes, girls. Okay? So again, right? Chad says can't even get a job with natural black hair. I'm telling you. And this goes into white supremacy and racism as well. The military telling black people for years they couldn't wear their natural hair because it wasn't appropriate or it didn't look organized. So again, I say to you, you might not believe me, but you should believe him because he's telling you who he is with his full chest.
Are you trying to reclaim suits from white supremacists?
A little bit. I think Zoran definitely was impactful in that decision too. But the real reason why I do it is because I got clipped so much on Fox News that I was like, if I'm wearing a suit while I'm saying the things I'm saying, those grandmothers are probably going to be much more receptive. And it's literally worked.
There literally has been a positive impact of the suiting in terms of the things you say being accepted by more like mainstream America.
Yes. 100%. We're lizard brain people, man. At the end of the day, I think like when they see something that they find to be appealing, they lock in on it. They're far more receptive to what I have to say if I'm wearing a suit when I'm saying it.
Are you ever going to run for office?
Fuck no.
Why not?
Everybody always says this. Since I started wearing the suits, especially.
You look the part, dog.
Yeah, since I started wearing the suits, everyone's like, you're running for office. I'm like, no, I'm not. The serious response to it is like, I have so much more opportunity to promote people that come from this background, that have put in the work for years and years within, you know, Democratic Socialists of America and numerous other organizations, that I can be beneficial to like 50 races at the same time, as opposed to trying to run and maybe losing in one race. You know what I mean?
You're saying all races matter?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Okay. You might not believe me, but you should believe him. Again, he's trying to play the political game, and I think politics is where good people go to die. He's playing the political game, and I'm saying this game never works. This game never works. Appealing to white supremacy never fucking works. Making fascists comfortable never fucking works. Okay? Yes, be compassionate. Yes, be loving. But this isn't what that is to me. This is treating adults with kid gloves because you want them to take you seriously, when that shouldn't be the message we're sending to queer kids right now, especially during Pride Month. This shouldn't be the message we're sending to queer youth as they're being killed. This shouldn't be the message we're sending to people who exist in the world. The message we should be sending is you deserve dignity, no matter how eccentric you dress, no matter what the color of your hair is, no matter what the texture of your hair is. You are dignified, you are beautiful, and you are worthy. And that is not the message he is sending with this. He's sending literally the opposite message. Okay. Now, oopsies. Wait, reopen. Oh no. Deleted it. Come back. Hold on. Hold on. I lost my timestamp on this video I had up for you. And I had it ready to go. Oh, I'm so annoyed I lost this whole thing. I had it all set up perfectly and I lost it because of Boober. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Oh, I'm so annoyed. Hold on, hold on. Wasn't mine. Good day on my mind seemed to take a step. And now. Hold on, give me a second. I can't believe I lost it. I'm gonna cry so hard. I think I lost it. I lost it to the ether. I lost it to the hits of hell. I lost my timestamp. What was even the timestamp? That's the problem. I can't remember. No, I do remember. I do remember. It was Anthony. Okay, wait. Cronies is safe. The word crony, plural, emerged from the 1660s as a student slang. Cambridge University derives from the ancient Greek word cronies, meaning long lasting, and of long standing, which stem from chronos, meaning time. Okay, noted. Oh no, I'm so upset. This is why I made that video, guys, like a while back about like, I think professionalism could look like tattoos and fun hair and all this other stuff. But we just got to up the standard of the cloth. I'm telling you, it's all about it being nice, not about anything else. Okay. Oh, I'm so annoyed. Well, fuck. Okay. That's okay. I'm really annoyed. Okay, that's fine. We'll do this story. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. We'll do it anyways. Okay. Does anyone have questions before we move on, though? Brittany, something I find genuinely annoying about politics right now is the way the way that so much of it is appealing to white men, aka your point that politics is where good people go to die. Well, we covered that. Was it yesterday? No. It was Sean DeBlack 4 days ago. I don't remember. Sean was saying the same thing, that he feels like everything is about how to get white men to vote. Everything is about white men. Everything is about like appealing to them. Again, guys, why would you want to appeal to white men? White racist men? Why can't you just say, instead of saying we need to appeal to white men, which by the way, you know they can hear you, right? Are you fucking stupid? You know white men can hear you. They're gonna think you're tricking them. That's how conservative white men think. I swear to God, you need to get women and gay people in your ranks. So we can explain to you how white men hear you say this shit and they go, oh, double down. I'm doubling down. Like, oh, they're trying to trick us? Oh, they're trying to appeal to us? Fuck no. Like, don't you see how stupid you sound? Just say what you really want to say to them. Hey, when you fuckers are ready, we will literally make your life better. You know how you're fucking suffering? Yeah, that's because you live in a capitalistic hellscape. You want to fucking feel better? Join ranks with us, bros. We will literally make your life better. You want to spend more time at the gym? Based. Me the fuck too. Okay? Stop talking about appealing and trying to get through to them and trying to do this. You sound like you're fucking trying to, trick them or something. Just be honest. Say when you're fucking ready and when you're done fucking fighting us because we're queer and you don't like the way we look, we will literally help you get a better job, bro. We will literally together fight against the military coming to your high schools and tricking you to fight wars you don't want to fight. You know what I mean? Like what conservative men are like, Hassan Piker decided to wear a suit? Actually, I'm going to be a leftist now. And actually, Hassan Piker changed my mind. Hassan Piker did not change your mind, bro. You changed your mind. Okay? And then what it does is it alienates people like me. It makes marginalized people look at Hassan and raise a lot of eyebrows at him. So now you're alienating two bases. And the only people who are going to be on your side are ex-Bernie bros who think people like me are stupid because they don't pick up books. That's all you're doing, bro. Which is why guys with Bernie bros and guys whose subscriptions are all the liberal fucking channels are like, Bernie doesn't know anything. What does suits have to do with white supremacy? You know what I mean? You're so fucking stupid. You're just as stupid as the people who are fucking voting against their own fucking basic rights because you're all fucking annoying to me. You're all adults who don't know any better. Come on now. This is what I'm saying. This is the best you got. We're cooked. We're overcooked. We're cooked and chewy, bro. It's bad. Oh, it's bad. It's bad. Okay. With that said, don't lose hope because nobody's got time for that. It's like Pandora's box, guys. Oh my God, I think I found my timestamp. It's like Pandora's box. You unleash in order to know the knowledge of the world, all of the evil, but at the very bottom, there's hope. And I have a lot of fucking hope because of you. So keep it up. All right. Speaking of being hopeful and opening up Pandora's box, let's talk about Ethan Klein and iDubbbz because you guys asked me to talk about this, but to be honest, my Syrian cousin Anthony is much better at covering all of this stuff. And that's actually where I get all of my, knowledge about all of the lawsuits. And I think if I'm not mistaken right here, he's going to explain that, iDubbbz got in trouble basically because he did a stream where he brought up a text message or a comment from Destiny of all people, facing a felony, admitted to having CP on his computer, Destiny. Okay, Stephen Bonnell. He showed up in iDubbbz chat. iDubbbz highlighted it to say, I don't agree with this. Ethan Klein weaponized that to sue iDubbbz and then recently dropped the lawsuit because iDubbbz apologized. So let's talk about forgiveness, apology, philosophy through pop culture. Let's make sure that we ground ourselves in understanding, what do we do with this? What can we learn from this? Okay, so let's see this clip right here from Anthony really fast. Let me see if I found my timestamp that I needed.
It's kind of insane. And let's see. So this is the original clip, I think, that is being sued for.
It's okay. So I do want to.
Sorry, got to turn it down a little bit.
Hold on. I'm working on Anthony's stream. Anthony and I are working together now. He doesn't know this, but here I am.
It's okay. So I do want to say I don't agree with what's being said in this comment here.
So iDubbbz is already saying I don't agree. And Destiny says, quick daily reminder that Ethan from H3H3 is likely a pedophile who had molested his own children. That's what Destiny said in iDubbbz stream. iDubbbz highlighted it and said, absolutely not. I don't agree with this. And then Ethan Klein said, because iDubbbz kept it on screen too long, he thinks iDubbbz is actually agreeing with it and then decided to sue him.
So he says, I don't agree with what's being said in this comment here. And you can see it right here, Destiny. Quick daily reminder that Ethan from H3H3 is likely a pedophile who has molested his own children. And that was on whatever. January 26.
But I'm putting it on screen because I think it should be addressed because it's a big, bold accusation that's very fucked up.
This is a big, bold accusation that's very fucked up. And again, he acknowledges that he doesn't believe that it's true. And again, the whole point of doing this was, hey, Ethan, why did you sue people like Denims, Frogan, and then Casey Tron for copyright infringement, and you go after anyone on the left who criticizes your show, but you ignore people like Destiny who are literally calling you a pedophile and who are accusing you of molesting your own kids? You say nothing about that?
Yeah.
You let him go just because you're afraid of your audience and his.
Now, I don't know if what Ethan said was true, but Ethan claims it's because, Destiny was obviously making a joke. Was he? Because that's the thing about Destiny. Is he? But I do think Ethan should be afraid of Destiny's audience because God knows they're a group of harassers. But even more than that, you should be afraid of Ethan's audience because they're the same. But Ethan and Destiny, who knows what they're really doing behind closed doors. But that's not the point of this, okay? The point of that is not this. Let's go to this, okay? Ethan Klein suing iDubbbz, bets are off.
Children enter the picture, and I said this back then, the bets are off, and the rules have changed, and I will do everything to ensure that people do not talk about my children in this way. But I would just want to get this to people like Charlie, for example, and other commentators who
Charlie Penguin Zero.
Like, this is
who dubbed Ethan the Nintendo of YouTube, which is hilarious and true.
An attack on free speech. It's not. I'm pretty heavy free speech.
Oh, are you pretty heavy free speech? Because it doesn't feel like you are. So just to mind you, Nintendo sues everybody all the time, right? They're always in lawsuits. That's why Charlie called Ethan the Nintendo of YouTube, which is so true.
Obviously, I acknowledge that there's limits to it. I mean, we all agree you can't shout fire in a movie theater, right? Because it's dangerous. Can you just accuse people of molesting their own children if it's not true?
Yeah, but iDubbbz didn't do it. Destiny did. That's why I'm saying, like, this Ethan is, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's an ego entitled, like, that is the entitlement of this whole thing. Ethan is mentally well enough to know this is crazy. And the fact that he's doubling down on it is because he's blinded by hatred and ego. This is why I say I love philosophy. Have the humility to realize it's not always about you. Have the humility to see, like, your life is a reflection of what you put into it. The world is a reflection of us as a whole. Ethan's life is a reflection of what he has put into it as a whole. All of our lives are a reflection as adults. We're nearing 40. You know what I mean?
It's not free speech. It's not. Why would that be protected? What kind of fucking world would that be if that was protected speech? Not one I want to live in, right? And there should be recourse. There should be accountability. When
okay, now look at this video.
If Destiny had this on his stream, a layout on his stream the whole hour,
it'd be a lot different.
It'd be a lot different. People join a stream and leave a stream at different times.
Yeah.
It's a live stream. They don't watch it. It's not a movie. They don't watch it from beginning to end. If you said something in the beginning, that doesn't mean anything.
I mean, he went out of his way to keep it on screen for 2 hours. So the disclosure that you don't believe it should be as present.
I thought it was 36 minutes. Now it's 2 hours?
It should be present with the message. Yeah. Right? The whole time. If Destiny had this.
So now they're like, oh, I can't go after Destiny. It was obviously a joke. Okay.
If Ian would issue a genuine apology, I'd probably think about dropping the lawsuit. I don't think he's ever genuinely apologized or reckoned with the fact that, like, what he did was so extraordinarily fucked up. If he did that, I would probably drop the lawsuit.
This is important.
That's it. That's all I ever wanted, honestly. If Ian.
Okay, so now iDubbbz apologized. But, of course,
this video, and I'll say.
Oop. Hold on. Ethan, no. iDubbbz did apologize. Hold on, I just realized I didn't have the video up for some reason. But here's the problem, right?
Hello.
Here's the problem. First, let's watch the apology, and then we'll watch Ethan's response to the apology or his reasoning. Here's the apology. It's not that long. 1 point times 2. Here's the thing. Obviously, some people are saying he should apologize, that now Ethan's going to think he can bully everybody into apologizing. The irony is Ethan thinks he can bully everyone anyways. And he got backed by a lot of the internet. So I don't want to hear any of these boys on the internet who spend their time bullying people. I saw people who literally harassed me over 4 years ago, spent a year or so harassing me, making horrible videos of me, clip chimping me, taking me out of context, making my life hell, literally have the audacity to say, you're giving it to Ethan Klein. Like, these are the worst people on the internet all fighting together. So let's put that together. So then we have to ask ourselves, okay, separate from the worst people on the internet, what does it mean to apologize? And what does it mean to accept an apology? Right? And what does it mean to forgive? And what does it mean to really do the right thing? So let's watch Ian's apology to Ethan.
Hello, everyone. I am going to be talking about a very important and heavy topic for me. If you're unfamiliar with the context of any of this, I'll give you a brief rundown. But that is not the main...
Confused by the crucifix in the background.
...purpose of this video. I do think it's important to share a little bit of my side of the story, but I don't want to take away from the purpose of this video, and that is to apologize to Ethan Klein and his family, especially his kids. Basically, Ethan is suing me for having rebroadcasted a statement made by Destiny on my stream. I did display the very disgusting comment for 40 minutes, and it was wrong. It was a comment from Destiny, and I even said that I don't agree with it, but it sort of highlights how I knew that it was a wrong thing to put out there into the universe and show people. Regardless of the point I was making, it was wrong. I was angry, and I was like, how do I get this guy to, one, not clip me, not mock me and harass me on his live stream, and two, this guy's a fucking bully. I'm angry. I'm angry that this multimillionaire is silencing people and suing people who are...
Mind you, in case you guys don't know some of the lore, is that iDubbbz had a pretty bad reputation on the internet before, okay? He said a lot of things he shouldn't have said a lot of slurs he shouldn't have said, did a lot of things he shouldn't have said, right? He made an effort to apologize and to make amends, which we're here for. We're leftists, we're progressives, we want that for people. We want people to make amends. I never watched Ian. I still don't watch Ian. I'm not a fan of Ian. I obviously watch some of the content to keep up with stuff, obviously, for stream. But I think I have seen in real time the consequences of him being a better person, right? And I've seen the way that he's made attempts. So, that's not for me to decide because my community wasn't the one he targeted. But I think what's interesting is that he lost money. He lost opportunity. And Ethan used to make fun of him for this. Like, nobody watches you anymore because he's trying not to be problematic. Ethan's not putting it together that the reason people still watch him, even though that's really going down and stopping, is because he's problematic. Is because he's constantly trying to stay trending and go viral. Because he's constantly getting into lawsuits with people. Like, sometimes, this is why I say, we talked about this the other day on stream, the ethics of being famous are complicated. Because it's very hard to be a good person and be famous. It's very hard to be a good person and be wealthy. It's very hard to be a good person and to be trending. And so the question is, why are you popular? I mean, didn't we ever learn from High School Dynamics that the popular kids were not very good? And there's a stereotype. There's a reason that's a stereotype. It's not always true. There's nuance and there's gray. But there's something about the fact that, Ethan makes fun of people for not being big channels, including Ian. So Ian is aware that he is not wealthy. Like, Ethan is allegedly worth like $20 million, him and Gila, because of Teddy Fresh and everything. I mean, I think their house alone, I could be wrong. I think I remember it being like $11 million or something. I don't remember. But this is why when we have conversations about people and we're talking about the differences of lifestyle, and that's why even when it comes to Hassan, I know we just talked about him. The struggle I have with Hassan Piker is, though his house is not a mansion and he paid $3 million for it, him saying it's just a house, it can never be just a house if you spent $3 million on it. You know what I'm saying? You can't understand wealth disparity and say things like, oh, it's just a house. Guys, normal ass people are not buying houses for $3 million fucking dollars. You know what I'm saying? I mean, $1 million is crazy. And yeah, suburb homes can be $1 million in California, but the fact that he even has the audacity to downplay the fact that there's no humility here for these men. You can't say your one single home was $3 million and it's just a home. Yes, it's not a mansion. Sure, but it's not just a home, because just a home is $3 million. So Ethan sitting here going after smaller creators, Frogan and Denims and everybody, when he knows for a fact they do not make that kind of money, is on purpose. That is him using his privileged power to punch down, right?
Who have a much smaller audience than he does and, can barely defend themselves. And so I'm angry. I don't like bullies. So I wanted to do something that would have an impact. And, you know, without checking in with myself of whether or not that was a right or wrong thing to do. I justified it in my head at the time. I was like, okay, well, it's not my words. And it's actually said by a really bad guy, Destiny. Not a fan of that guy.
Not a fan.
It's very clear that it was never the right thing to do. It was a comment about Ethan and his children. And it was disgusting. I said at the time in the stream that I don't agree with it.
It was disgusting to say about anybody ever. Unless, like, that's such a horrible thing to say about somebody and their children. It is a very big deal. And that's why it was gross of Destiny to say it. And it was even more gross for Ethan to go after iDubbbz instead of the man who said it.
But still sharing it and broadcasting it to people for 40 minutes, that was an irresponsible and reckless thing to do. Especially for parents. Like, there are many parents with kids out there who do not want to see that shit. And it's painful. And I'm sure it was extremely painful for Ethan and Hila to read that shit and have it pop up again and again and again. And just because it's coming from a piece of shit guy,
right,
and I'm showing it to people like, look what this piece of shit said. It's wrong. It's wrong to do. It is wrong. And I didn't, you know.
Which is why I ban people from my chat who say things like that about Ethan. Because no, not on my watch, not in my chat. This fucking disgusting. Don't say that shit about people. It's so fucking serious. And this is why I censor my chat so heavy, because there's a lot of gross boys on the internet, especially, who just love to say that shit. A lot of them from Destiny's community. It's gross.
I didn't come to this overnight, right? Like, to be frank, I'm angry. I do not like Ethan. I think he's doing a lot of damage to people online.
Exactly.
And
true.
It changed the way that I was thinking about it. I didn't think about it. I didn't ground myself. I didn't think about, oh, like who is actually being affected in this instance? And Ethan's family and his kids are being affected. You know, I just because I don't like Ethan, I think it's wrong to find an attack vector that is his kids. It's.
That's why I think it's wrong when Dark Woke engages in throwing slurs around, because now it's like, yeah, but who's this hurting? Marginalized people. Well, you're throwing slurs at fascists. Fascists are gunning down marginalized people because they're like, oh, you like slurs too? We like slurs too. Let's point our anger on the people that are represented by the slurs. This is what I'm saying. So I appreciate this from Ian, especially given his past, which again, like, is bad, and I don't watch him, and I agree that you shouldn't forgive him if you don't want to. And that's why these things are so harmful. But this is why I say, like, I would rather we start holding ourselves to a higher standard than lower our standard because we're fighting fascism.
It's foul. It's not okay. And I think it was wrong for me to use the Destiny screenshot as a cudgel to make my point. I didn't need to use the Destiny screenshot to make my point. There's a million other ways I could have done it. But I didn't, and I regret that I didn't, and I regret that I ever put that screenshot on my live stream. You know, that's the main reason why I feel like I do need, for myself, for my soul, to own up to this and acknowledge that I went too far. It wasn't okay. Ethan and Hila and their family do not deserve that. At the end of the day, whatever happens with the lawsuit is what it is. For myself, I needed to make it known on the internet that what I did was wrong, and I don't want to be that person. I don't want to behave that way. I want to make content that I'm proud of. I don't want to give in to a harassment back and forth online. I want to put my energy into making content that I can be proud of and that I'm not going to be ashamed of because I lost the plot. I want to stay focused. I want to check in with myself and know what it is I want to be and what I want to do and what message I want to spread. And this isn't a message I want to spread. So I'm sorry to Ethan and Hila and your family. You guys didn't deserve that. I'm going to think about all of this a lot more, I'm sure. But for now, I really do want to just get back to making the content that I want to make. Having said all that, I wish everyone the best. I genuinely want to see a better world, and I do not want to be a contributor to what makes it terrible. So long. Bye-bye.
Okay, I agree with that message. I think that's good. I'm proud of him. I think all the boys that are jealous of him, like, look, Asmon's thumbnails here. He's only apologizing because he's fucked. I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I think he's serious. I think he means it. And I think he's trying to be the better person. I also know that he has a friendship with Dr. Kirkonda, and they've talked together. Dr. Kirkonda thinks well of Ian and sees Ian's decision to be a better person. And I trust Dr. Kirkonda's perspective a lot. I do respect him a lot. And I think that gives Ian a little bit of a grace from me because of Dr. Kirkonda's faith in Ian. And I believe that. And I think it's the right standard to set. I think all of us, myself included, could absolutely be better at the way we communicate. We could, we're all tempted to be edgy boys on the internet, myself included. And I don't think it's helping the world. I think it's fun sometimes with your friends. And I know we all get a laugh out of it. And also, the nearer I get to 40 and I'm getting there, I would like to be a little bit better than Ethan Klein as he heads into his 40s. Ethan's kind of my example of, okay, don't be Ethan at 40, because Ethan's still doing the edgy jokes. He's still doing the kid posting. He's still being petty on the internet and just not who we should be, I also want to make sure that we seek rightful and good justice, not revenge and not pettiness. And so again, I see chat saying, I still don't understand why Ian's the one getting sued. I think that's the pettiness from Ethan Klein. That's Ethan Klein's, he's got blinders on. He's got hatred and revenge in his heart. And now, really, Ian said, balls in your court. I apologized. It's authentic. What will you do now? Well, he dropped the lawsuits.
That Ian put out this video, and I'll say, on his main channel, which immediately I thought was very good, that he was willing to stand on it on his main channel, obviously his biggest loudspeaker, right? And so I thought that was good. I thought that was a nice gesture to put it here. I thought it was genuine, and I am working with my attorneys now to drop the lawsuit against Ian. Oh, he pinned the comment too. That was nice of him. That was very kind of him to do that. A lot of people had a problem with this part. They're like, what kind of apology is this if you're just going to be saying stuff like this? But my perspective on this was, I actually don't care about any of this stuff he's saying now. Listen, what he just said, I've argued against a million times, and I've explained how it's wrong. But that's not why I'm suing him, and he's free to say that stuff. You know what I mean? The problem I had was the statement about my kids, which is the one he's apologizing for. So that's what I'm listening to. He's allowed to say he thinks I'm a bully and whatever, yada, yada. That's fine, right? If that's all he ever said, then there would never be a lawsuit. And it's his right to say that. So I personally saw this, and I don't care at all, or I'm not offended at all that he included it. And listen, he wants to make it clear he's not retracting everything he said about me. He's not switching up 180. He was just saying this went too far. And that was my point as well, right? So we can continue to disagree on those points.
Okay, and Ethan posted this to their H3 TikTok. So I'll just say this. Though I still disagree with Ethan, Ian did not say those things. Destiny said those things. I appreciate the way that this all went. I wish Ethan would do the same thing for Denims. I know Frogan and Casey Tron. I think Frogan settled, if I'm not mistaken. Frogan was also the only GoFundMe I donated to. Gotta support my Arab girlies. And I know Casey Tron settled. And I know Denims is still fighting and looks like she's gonna win, which good for her, right? But I wish he would do that for the rest of them, because I do think it's so bad faith that he went after these girlies in any way. And I hope Denims wins. I think she deserves to win. I also appreciate the way this went, because maybe it's a sign of a little bit of healing, but it is still a sign that Ethan still isn't really getting it. But I think that, and maybe it's on the heels of his friend dying, which I do think is sad that he lost a friend, Oliver Tree. I know he's really heartbroken. And I know Anthony said this from Do Not Worry. Death changes us. Maybe Ethan had a realization that life was short and this isn't how we should be living. Maybe he just really wanted that apology. I think it's really important to validate people's pain, and I think it's really important to do the right thing. So I think Ian did that really well, where he acknowledged Ethan's pain, and he also said, but I'm not going to back down from what I said in regards to the lawsuits. And I think that's really a strong apology, because everyone is going through pain, even when it's not justified, in the sense that it's not reasonable, it's still occurring. I learned that in therapy, that the thing you have to do in therapy that I know a lot of these boys don't have the tools for is to acknowledge that pain is actually happening to you. You're a biological creature. You are experiencing the pain. It is real. The pain is real. The question is, why the pain? This is where philosophy comes in, mixed in with therapy. You ask yourself, why are you in pain? And then when you figure out truly why you're in pain, it's never the first answer. You can heal that pain. But you are experiencing pain. Ethan is in a lot of pain. That is just a fact. The question is he willing to do the work to figure out why? Because it would free him, it would free all of us, it would free everyone. If we could all do this work to figure out why we're in pain, we could save the world. We can make the world such a better place. The world can save itself because we'd be healing as a whole. You see this with your boomer parents. They're in so much pain. But because they won't do the work to know why they're in pain, they blame people. They're often bigoted. It often comes out in how they vote. And I really wish we could all do the pain because, guys, we are in pain. You are hurting. All these angry white men burning down their own towns. Yeah, you're in a lot of pain. I wish you would actually do the work to figure out why you're in so much pain, because all you're doing is taking it out on the wrong people. And that's why they say hurt people, because we don't know why we're in pain. And so we just lash out at the nearest target. And I'm saying I really wish we would all do the work. I know it helped me. I know it freed me. I know it made me a better person. I did therapy, which is my mental health, my background, my childhood, my traumas. And I did philosophical work, my why, my meaning for existence. How do I move forward in the world, right? And this is why we do both. You want to be a whole human being. You want to know who you are in the story. Are you the villain, the good guy, the passive? Who are you? What are you doing with your life? Do you want to change it? Do you like it? Are you the healer? What are you, you know? And then you want to take care of how you labor and exist in the world. How do you feed yourself? Is it, unique to you and your situation? Is it more standard script? We want to change systems to help us live better. Yes, but then you still have to eat at the end of the day. So what are you doing, right? And this is individualistically, but it also reflects your community effort. It has to be both, guys. Introspection, extrospection. Who you are, why you do what you do, and then why you are how you are with everything outside of yourself. Okay, so who you are in the story, your means, your labor, your finances, your mental health, your physical health. This body is limiting. I'm gonna sneeze. I didn't choose that. I don't have free will. I sneeze when I sneeze. Okay. This is your physical form. I'm chronically ill. Many of us are. Ethan has Tourette's. You never know what this body's going to do, but you got to live with it, You got to figure out your relationship with your physical health. And then your spiritual health. That's your philosophical health. What is your why? What do you believe in? A lot of people, billions of people rely on God and religion. What do you rely on to give you direction? Okay? That's always the next part. And then, of course, who you are in the story, how to be a whole human being. So physical, mental, spiritual, financial. Okay, how to be a whole human being. And all of it together creates a full picture of who you are. Take your time figuring it out, but you do got to figure it out. You got to do the work, and that takes a lot of time and effort. And so I commend Ethan and Ian for settling this. I really wish we could keep it going. I wish it didn't stop here, but it kind of sounds like it's going to. Hold on, I got to sneeze. Not sneeze, I got to blow my nose. Hold on. Okay, hold on. I feel like I have snot all over my nose now. So, any thoughts on this? Any closing thoughts? That's basically my opinion. That's what it is there. What do you guys think? Chat says, just feel a bit like Ethan is an edgy, tough guy who can't take it when he's getting a taste of his own medicine. Yeah, I think that plays a huge role. That's ego. That's our defense mechanism. That is our ego. That's what happened between me and Destiny, right? Like, I should never have collabed with him, sure. I didn't do my research. I'll do it better the next time around. And remember that I, in good faith, I wasn't even mad at Destiny at the time because I didn't know everything we know now, of course. And I had said, don't take advice from Destiny. He's a serial cheater and he's a bad father. And he pulled an Ethan on me. That's why I think Ethan and Destiny like each other a bit, even though Ethan says he doesn't. I think Destiny is the type of guy who, like, anything you say against him, and I genuinely believed at the time, guys, this was like 4 years ago. I genuinely believed at the time, because I didn't know enough about Destiny, that, oh, he's just mad, but he's going to realize I'm right, and it's going to be fine. Because I didn't say anything wrong. I didn't lie. I said something that was true. I said something that was factual. But I forget, because I have factual autism, that I just think, like, if it's true, people will just get it. But we're not. We're emotional people. I'm an emotional person, right? And so, when we have these conversations, it takes us a long time to realize we're so emotional. Destiny's a very emotional person. Ethan's a very emotional person. We're all very emotional. And that's what that is. And that's why I think, like, you got to be really careful in dealing with people who won't go to therapy and work on themselves in like a deep, deep way is, you know, right? Chad says you were like the first one to reveal Destiny's true intentions. Honestly, I wasn't. His victims were. His victims were the first ones to reveal it. They just didn't get any of the credit. So I made my video and some people gave me the credit, but it wasn't me. It was his victims first. I mean, I was technically a coworker victim, and I believe this because I was harassed by him and his community. He tried to paint me as like this horrible person. He had a bigger audience than I did. More people listened to him. I also did choose not to engage and try to defend myself in a big way because I knew I wasn't going to win, and I knew that I was going to get harassed more, you know, but I wasn't the first person. I was just the first person with a platform who was able to say it. But after I made my video, his victims did message me and say, thank you. I just didn't know what to do. And I needed to do it for myself because it was such a heavy weight. And I just needed to be done with it and move on with my life. And I feel better now. But the victims are always first. You know, the direct victims, the abuse victims are always the direct. My victimhood with Destiny was very different, but it was still like, it's sad that the direct victims could never be heard first. I think that's why it's so frustrating for everybody. But this is why victims don't come forward, because they won't be believed, right? I mean, this is why they go to each other, because, you know, if you've been through it, you know, but it's really hard to be believed. W, thank you so much for gifting a membership. Congratulations. Enjoy that, guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, it just says it even seems like a debate tactic for him, which is bizarre. Every time I see Destiny, he's screaming and crashing out. I don't get the appeal. I think it's like funny to people or entertaining. I think it's also old school YouTube where the louder you are, the funnier you are. I mean, PewDiePie did it. I mean, even I do it sometimes, and it can be really funny for people. I try to do it less as I get older because I do think at some point it's actually like real. Like Markiplier, guys, when I found out Markiplier was actually, his anger was real, that's what I'm saying. When you realize your anger is real and he's punching that wall because he's actually angry, it's like not funny anymore. So now I look at these boys who are crashing out and I'm like, oh, I thought it was a joke. I thought we were doing a bit. We're not doing a bit. Like when I'm doing it, it's like a bit or I'm just passionate. But like these guys are actually mad. And I didn't know that. And I was like, oh. So everyone always goes, oh, Markiplier is the most unproblematic creator. Markiplier admits he had anger issues. And he was so angry, he was punching holes in walls and being mean to coworkers until he realized like, oh, people were about to quit on him. He had to go get help. Do you know what I'm saying? That's why I did make that video where I questioned, can you be famous and ethical? Can you be rich and ethical? Because everyone always says like, oh yeah, like these people are good people. Yeah, you may not be, you know, again, good people do bad things and bad people do good things. It's like, which one are you? Maybe Markiplier is a good person who does bad things. But yeah, it's something to think about. You know, it is something to think about. And I think that's important. Yeah. Yeah, just as iDubbbz's name is Ian, right? Yeah, it is. Just as if a millionaire holds you at financial gunpoint, an apology is literally your only way out. Well, hold on. Are you replying to the thing of like, why would anyone ever apologize to Ethan Klein? No. These are two things. I want to separate these two things. When you're fighting for a cause, you're dying for that cause. I'm not saying you have to die for the cause. I'm saying Ian didn't apologize because he was under threat, but that is a tactic millionaires can use. Ian did it because it was the right thing. I want to believe that, right? I wouldn't blame Ian if he apologized like Casey Tron did. Casey Tron was being threatened by Ethan. So Casey Tron was threatened. Basically, she was about to lose her house. She was about to lose her support for her family. So she had to read an apology to Ethan Klein. It's the most disgusting behavior I've ever seen from Ethan Klein that he made Casey try and read this letter out on the internet, right? That was a really good example of him weaponizing his power. But I do think Ian was genuine. I think Ian made this decision because I think Ian could have won that lawsuit. But Casey Tron couldn't have. Casey was screwed. So Casey was hands behind her hands behind her back type thing. So I would separate them out. But I think Ian was genuine. I think Casey was under duress. Yeah. So just to give context. Now, human to human, Ethan is still, okay, this is the complicated part. There are people who owe Ethan Klein an apology. From an ethical standpoint. I don't know who they are, but there are. Some of you absolutely owe that man an apology, or you're just shitty people. The dilemma is, do you know that? Or do you think because he's a person you don't like or you think is a bad person, he deserves everything coming to him? Because you're exactly what's wrong with the world. That's why I was so impressed with Ian's apology, because I thought like, oh, maybe the world is healing a little Ian at a time, you know? Because that is it. Now, again, Ian has a past. You don't have to forgive him for that past, especially Black people. His use of the N-word. Not this Juneteenth, do you have to forgive this white man? And I do think that there's something here to be said about the way people act. This is why I don't hang out in a lot of boy communities, even though I'm a boy and I miss out. It's because you guys are fucking evil. You guys are fucking cruel. You gang up on people. You fucking just tear them apart. You're not serious in any way, shape, or form. You just want to bully people and call it justice. And I'm sick of it. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that Ian knows his values enough to live by them. I really wish more people on the internet would do the same thing. But you guys don't have any values. You don't have any ethics or morals. You just, you know, you want to feel good about yourselves. I wish more people would have the humility to apologize when they're wrong. And this is what my therapist taught me. My therapist taught me how to apologize for what I did was wrong and nothing more and nothing less. If I did something wrong based off my values, I will apologize. I will not apologize based off your values. If I did something wrong according to my values, I will apologize. Absolutely. And that's the key difference. So I've apologized to bigoted people, to evil people for things I have done wrong according to my values. But I will not apologize for things I don't think are wrong. Which is why Ian did not apologize for telling Ethan he was wrong for suing those girls. He did apologize for what he did he thought was wrong. You know? And so that's important. And I think that's the difference. Do you have values enough? Do you have good ethics, good morals that you will apologize when you've done wrong according to them? Or do you decide you don't have to apologize because it was to a bad person? You know? And that's the world as a whole, girlies. That's the whole world. That's why the world is the way that it is. Because you guys don't know the difference. Not you, my chat. My chat's so smart and beautiful and talented. But the whole world doesn't know the difference. And that's why the world will be what it is. So shout out to authentic apologies. Shout out to good, solid values and morals. I hope Denims wins. I hope Ethan Klein does the work. I hope the world heals. And I know the world is a good place because you exist in it. And that's why I stay optimistic every day. And I will continue to do so. Shout out to Anthony, Do Not Worry podcast. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Let's go ahead and wrap up stream on this beautiful Juneteenth. Please have a safe and joyous weekend with your family and friends. Please celebrate. Please stay safe. Be careful driving. You know, people love to party. They love to drink. Enjoy it, but be safe. Have a DD, designated driver. Treat yourselves with kindness. Remember this day in history. Educate yourselves. If you don't know what it's about, you can go back to the beginning of stream. We also talked about the history of Juneteenth. My thoughts are with Bisan and all of those Palestinian future football players, all of those kids who've lost their families in Palestine because of what Israel's done. My thoughts are with them as many people celebrate football and countries come together to celebrate. And I only wish and I only can hope that those kids grow up to fulfill the dreams that they have for themselves and that they too get to be football players one day and that they too get to have stability in their life because they deserve it. They really do. Okay, guys. Thanks for being here. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. Talk to you on Monday. Bye.